We did it! After 11 years of making videos on YouTube, I've finally reached 10,000 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough for this. I feel like I owe you guys for getting me to where I am. So I thought of something. You like watching me talk about FNaF fan games, and I know many of you make FNaF fan games yourself. So I figured, how about I play your FNaF fan games? A while back, I asked you guys to send me a FNaF fan game that you made for me to play and review for the 10k subscriber special for when I hit 10k, and that is what this video is. After I'm done reviewing your games, I'll be doing a Q&A, as it also allowed you to ask me a question that can get answered in the video, but we'll get to that later. I first want to make a disclaimer, this could very well be a one-off. I doubt I'll be making a video like this again, and if I do, it won't be for a very long time. I've given people a chance to get their game reviewed on my channel as a thank you for getting me to 10k subs, so please don't leave a comment asking me to review your game. Now, I would like to say that I was very pleasantly surprised by how good these games you sent to me were. Like, I was expecting most of them to be very amateur, but no, there are some genuinely good games here. In fact, no spoilers, but 2 games I was sent are actually popular games that have been played by YouTubers with a larger following than me. It's honestly mind-blowing that I'm at a point where I'm being asked to review popular FNaF fan games made by the developers themselves. If I could have foreseen that as a kid, I would have shat myself. However though, due to there actually being standards in this video, I did ultimately decide that some games sent to me were not good enough to make it into the video. I won't single out any games, but some were either too buggy or confusing for me to actually make enough progress, or they just didn't have enough to talk about. I did say in the post your games are not guaranteed to be featured in the video, so please don't be upset if your game isn't in the video. As you'll realise when you get to the Q&A segment, I'm a boom when it comes to FNaF, and that includes its fan games. I've probably only played like 40 or 50 FNaF fan games that came out in the 2020s, and half of them for the purposes of a video. Most games that were sent to me aren't even 2 years old, so this was a unique experience for me. I'm going to be talking about the games in order of their release from oldest to newest. The first game that I'll be reviewing is by far the oldest one submitted. This game was released in August 2019, but had a major update in January 2021, and that game is 1 Week at Springtraps, made by Olixy. As its name would suggest, this game was inspired by the One Night at Springtrap series by Hadman. However though, this game contains 7 nights instead of 1, hence in the name 1 Week at Springtraps. The game opens with a cutscene of Fazbear's Frights after it burnt down, as seen in this location custom night ending. You then get a news article that says that Fazbear's Fright is opening. On each night you'll get a phone call, however it's mostly reused phone calls from FNaF 2 and ones from FNaF 1 and 3.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Which makes no sense since the game takes place at Fazbear's Fright, and the phone guy says welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Also, Night 6 phone call in FNaF 2 plays in Night 2, which is even more confusing.
What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place was closed down, at least for a while. See, I told you you wouldn't have any problems. Did Foxy ever repair the hallway? Probably not.
The game explains what you do via a tutorial accessing a menu. With it being a One Night at Springtraps inspired game, the office and cameras are all reused. The office is a FNaF 3 office, and the cameras are all made up of FNaF 1 through 3 cameras. One of the rooms is just some random kitchen, though it's not even a restaurant kitchen, it's at someone's house. What's quite funny is that a few of the cameras have lights flickering and the camera just shakes. On each night, there'll actually be more cameras than the last night. There's 1 camera on night 1, but by night 5 there's 12 cameras. There's also a new mechanism introduced on each night. The menu will change depending on the night you're on, which will have a different character as well as a different background. You'll also get a plushie on your desk when you beat a night. Something that's a bit odd is that there's no ambience while you're in the office. It plays a FNaF 2 ambience when someone gets close and there's camera static when viewing the cameras, but other than that, it's dead silence. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Night 1 is extremely easy. There's only 1 enemy active and that's a puppet. You have to wind up the music box in the monitor. You can wind it up in any camera. You can see how close the music box is from running out by checking the screen on your left. When you beat night 1 you get a puppet plush on your desk. On night 2 there's now 6 cameras. The left doorway is blacked out but you can press a button next to the doorway to use a light. You can also now wear a mask. Fredbear is now active. In this game he's made up of withered Freddy renders but recolored yellow and he has no eyes. He'll attack from the doorway. When he enters the office you have to wear the mask until he leaves. When you beat night 2 you'll get a Fredbear plush on your desk. On night 3 there's now 10 cameras. There's now a toxic meter. When you wear the mask the toxic meter will go up. In the office on your left there's a purple button. Pressing it will reset the toxic meter. However, it'll take a while to cool down. Toy Bonnie is now active. Every once in a while he'll appear in cam 4 and will tamper with the power. You have to shock him when you see him in a camera. If he takes too long, a power outage sequence will play. There's also Toy Foxy. She'll start in Cam 10, which is Pirate Cove. She'll attack from the vents. When she gets in, you'll hear a vent banging sound. She'll kill you when she gets in the office, so you have to wear the mask when you hear her. When the mask is on, she'll pop up quickly before leaving. So Toy Fox is actually an original 3D model. She looks kinda scuffed, like her limbs are a bit too skinny, but does fit the style of the game. When you beat Night 3, you'll get a Toy Foxy and Toy Bonnie figure. There's now 12 cameras on Night 4. Springtrap becomes active. He'll appear behind a window and will then crawl through the vents and appear in your office. You now have a flashlight to check the vent. When you see Springtrap in there, he's about to enter your office. You then have to wear the mask until he leaves. Springtrap is made up of renders from FNaF 3, however some of them are not. I thought this was reused fan art of Springtrap at first, but I think this might actually be an original model. He looks better than Toy Foxy, but still has overly long limbs. I think the reason some of these are original models is because there aren't many full body PNGs of Springtrap, and Toy Foxy isn't even a character in FNaF. When you beat Night 4, you get what is supposed to be a Springtrap plush, but it's just a Bonnie plush recolored yellow. Night 5 is just a harder version of Night 4. On Night 5 you get the Night 4 phone call from FNaF 1, and you know what happens to the phone guy in Night 4.
He fucking dies!
For the most part, the game is pretty easy, however it does get a bit harder on Night 5 because the animatronics are quite aggressive. It can especially be intense when Springtrap and Fredbear attack at the same time. The toxic meter will get very high. The strategy is to just wind the music box up while waiting for the others to attack. However, I think it handles that type of gameplay better than others, as the music box is definitely not the main threat, and isn't what's stopping you from cheesing the game. At 6 AM, all the animatronics get into your office. The screen then fades to black and then Baby appears. Baby, who is known as Broken Baby, is also an original model, who looks alright. You then get a paycheck that reveals that the game takes place on the 15th of December 2017, and that you play as William Afton. Yeah, you play as William Afton, yet Springtrap is an enemy, so in this universe, William Afton does not possess Springtrap. So I guess Michael Afton is Springtrap in this game, or maybe he isn't possessed by anyone. When you beat Night 5, you get a baby plush on your desk. Night 6 is very different to the rest of the night. At the start of the night, the power will go out and you're given a flashlight. You can't use the cameras on this night. Fredbear and Springtrap will appear in your office. Fredbear will laugh whenever he moves, however Springtrap is completely silent. When they appear in your office, you have to wear the mask. Broken Baby and Toy Chica are on Night 6. When Baby appears in your doorway, you have to shine a light at her, or she'll enter the office, and when she enters, you have to shock her. When Toy Chica appears in the office, you have to shock her. The shock takes a while to recharge after using it. This is definitely the hardest night in the game. I like that it's not just Broken Baby who's active, which is something that a lot of boss fights in other FNaF Fangames don't do. You have 4 enemies active. This night isn't that hard, but it's definitely intense, and this time it's actually an ambience that works well.
You must let us inside the room.
When you beat Night 6, you get another paycheck, but this time it looks more ominous. Towards the end, static will cover the screen. It then shows William leaving Fazbear's Fright, only to get jump scared by Baby. Then the credits roll. So apparently there's a custom night, but I didn't unlock that after beating Night 6, so I don't know if this game is bugged or there's some specific way of unlocking it the game doesn't even hint at. Anyway though, that's all that I was able to play for 1 week of Springtraps. As it is, I think it's an alright game. It's not really anything amazing, but it is a fun enough game. It does feel like a game that Hardman would have made if he continued making games after the release of Sis Location. It's worth checking out, but don't be expecting anything mind-blowing. The next game I'm going to be talking about is Five Nights at Coso's Plus, made by Cameron. The game was released in June 2023 and received a major update in July 2024. This is a fan game of the hand-drawn Five Nights at Coso series by Media Games that was being made from 2020 until 2025. Now, I'll admit, I had never actually heard of this series before being suggested this fan game, so if there's any references or ideas taken from any of the original games, I'm afraid I won't be able to talk about them. I did a little bit of research into the original game's lore, and I found that the company who owns the establishment are involved in drug trafficking, which is interesting. The game has an interesting menu screen, it has a cosmic background and music. It also shows the characters who are on the night you're about to play, what they do, and their difficulty. Like I said earlier, this is a hand-drawn game, and this actually looks really good. It all looks well detailed, and the animatronics look like they're in 3D. I'll admit the location doesn't particularly look creepy, but I don't think it's really trying to be. The animatronics do look creepy though. They have an uncanny expression that does make them unsettling when they get close to you. Each night lasts 6 minutes, and there's a time which actually counts down as opposed to going up. On night 1 there's 2 enemies active, Coso and Cosa, who are both brown humanoid animatronics. In your office you have a door in front of you with open curtains on the window. When Coso peeks through the window, you have to close the curtains for a few seconds. On your left there's a storage unit which is completely dark. You have to use a flashlight to see if someone's there. On the right you go over to a door. Coso will start banging on the door. When you hear him you have to go over to the door. Then you'll see a line with a red square in the middle. There'll be a green square moving side to side. When the green square is touching the red square, you have to press space. If you successfully do that, he'll leave. If you fail though, he'll bang on your door. If you fail too many times, he'll kill you. You have more chances on earlier nights. The green square also moves quicker on later nights. He's definitely the biggest threat in the game and becomes very difficult later on. On night 2, Meow becomes active, who is an animatronic cat with a red antenna. He'll get into the vent. On the left in the storage unit, there is a vent. Before Meow attacks, he'll be in a vent cam. When he exits the vent, you'll hear a bang. When he's in the room on your left, you'll see his antenna in the dark. You have to shine a light at him until he goes away. On night 3, Proto-Coso becomes active. He is an endoskeleton with a Coso head. He will also attack from the window. However, when he appears, you have to hide in the room on your left for a few seconds. On night 4, Old Coso becomes active. He's a more creepy looking Coso who resembles an old man. Old Coso will start in cam 3 and will move towards your office. When he gets to your office, he'll kill you shortly afterwards. When he moves forward a camera, you have to stare at him and he'll move back a cam. This is actually the first time you need to use a camera. Night 5 is just a harder version of Night 4. I like the gameplay of this game a lot. Every character serves as a threat and it gets pretty intense on later nights. I think it's a good example on how to make an intense FNaF fan game with only a few characters active. When you die, you get a spooky game over screen that says that you had a heart attack, so the animatronics are actually good guys. So this game does have a story to it. At the start of each night you'll get a radio broadcast which reports that a serial killer is on the loose. The radio host, Frank Smith, gives advice to listeners on how to defend yourself against a serial killer, which is also how you deal with the animatronics. So it's basically Five Nights at Wario's 4, but the broadcast isn't actually referring to the enemies, and it's a lot less ominous.
Some folks have seen this figure roaming the streets late at night, most likely looking for new people to kill. For what purpose? We don't know.
The broadcast is quite upbeat, but I actually think this works and still fits the vibe of the game, and as soon as the broadcast ends, it really does shift into a horror atmosphere. During the Night 4 broadcast, the killer is said to have been captured and is a former employee of Coso's known as James Marlowe, who was a character in the original series.
Just received breaking news that the identity of the man is supposedly an ex-worker of the popular restaurant Coso's Diner. Hence why he has asked in the restaurant. This man is identified as a James Marlowe.
Then, someone comes into the radio station and shoots Frank.
Hello? Hello?
When you get to 6 AM on night 5, the power will go out and the cameras will be disabled. Then someone comes in with a flashlight and shoots you. You then get the game over screen, but this time it says you were shot in cold blood, so I guess James Marlowe killed you. Afterwards you unlock a custom night and overtime. Overtime is basically a max mode. This is an extremely difficult night. Coso will kill you if you fail to press space just once, and if you're attacked by him at the same time as someone else, you're pretty much dead. I spent an hour on it and I didn't even make it to 2 AM. What doesn't help is that this game is not very well optimized. It lags quite a bit when you start a night and it can take 15 seconds to load. I don't think anything happens when you beat it, as night 5 was basically the end and this is just a bonus night. So that's the end of Five Nights at Coso's Plus. I think this is a unique game, but then again I haven't played the series that this game was based on, but I thought it was pretty good. You don't really need to know much about the original to get into it, as this game isn't very story based, so I'd recommend checking it out if you're a fan of Five Nights at Coso's or not. The next game I'm going to be talking about is Nights at Felix's, made by Mr. Mallows. The game was released in February 2025. A sequel was later released in October 2025 titled Nights at Felix's 2. However, I only allowed one game to be submitted per person, just to make things fair and to stop some weenie from sending me their whole gamography, and the first game was the one submitted, so therefore I will be reviewing that one. This was made to look like a 2015 FNaF fan game. It only contains 4 nights, one of them is a custom night. It opens with an 8-bit cutscene that shows a person in the back of an alley next to an animatronic in a puddle of blood. They then walk off, then someone spawns next to the animatronic. This game does a good job of replicating that 2015 FNaF fan game feel. It has low dull graphics and actually has a scary atmosphere. The rooms are all just so dark and has a creepy ambience to back it up. The office is very empty, with there being a desk and chair on your right. There is a hallway on your left and in front of you. I don't really know how to put it, but the office reminds me heavily of a refrigerator, but I do like it. You can't tell the time in this game, but every hour you'll hear a chime. Each hour lasts 1 minute. All the animatronics are made up of parts of the Splinks models. They're supposed to be cats. You have Felix the grey cat with a top hat and Yoda the brown cat. Yeah, his name's Yoda, which I was a bit confused about at first, but these characters were actually named after Mr. Mars' cats. Both are on night 1. Felix will attack from cam 2 in 2 phases before leaving. When he's at his second phase, you must turn off a light by pressing a lever on your right and wait for him to run past the hallway in front of you. After that, you then have to look for 3 Felix head icons in the cameras and click on it. Yoda will appear in cam 3, 4, 5. His left eye will have a blue, green or red light in it. On the top left of your camera, you have a blue, green and red square with numbers 1 through 3 on them. You have to click whichever colour matches Yoda's eye. If you click the wrong one, you're dead. Also, if you click one of the squares when Yoda isn't attacking, he'll jump scare you instantly. Occasionally, this demonic voice will talk to you, and I'm not being funny, it sounds like it's saying, "I'm gonna take a shit." On night 2, a new enemy is introduced, Olga the cat, who is an old animatronic who is out of service. She'll be in cam 3 and will slowly leave the room. You'll then hear her running. When you hear her, you have to quickly turn off the light. You only have about 2 seconds to react, so be very quick. You only have to turn the lights off for a second though. Night 3 is just a harder version of night 2. Seeing a pattern here? This game sounds simple, but it's actually very hard. The animatronics AI is extremely aggressive from 12 AM. On night 3, you'll never get a chance to breathe. However though, the game is actually not luck based, it's just very frantic. You'll always be getting attacked by multiple enemies at the same time, but you can always deal with them in time. You just have to be very fast. And its difficulty does make sense considering how there's only 4 nights in the game. There's an Easter egg character who I think is a golden Felix. They have a chance of appearing in your office when you pull down your monitor. You have to pull it back up or your game will crash. There's not much of a story to the game, but there is a little bit. You get a phone call on night 1, 2 and the custom night. The phone guy for the most part just explains how you play the game. He mentions that the animatronics have been malfunctioning and that there was a murder that took place outside of Felix's pizzeria. The minigame at the start probably shows a killer leaving a crime scene, and the sprite that appears at the end is a ghost of the murder victim. So that's the end of Nights at Felix's. It's not got a lot of content to it, but it's honestly a really fun game. Despite not being very long, it manages to be pretty damn intense, and it does feel like a game that would have came out in 2015. I would be interested in checking out Nights at Felix's 2 when I have time, and there's apparently going to be a 3rd game at some point as well. Okay, the next game I'm going to be talking about is a UCN fan game, and those take a long time to go over, so buckle up as I talk about Five Nights at Wario's Ultra Custom Night, made by Ion. I don't think you need to explain what Five Nights at Wario's is. I was a huge fan of Five Nights at Wario's when I was a kid, and I still think they hold up, but I have not kept up with it in a long time. The series has gained a massive cult following after the first 5 games were given major updates in 2020, and there is an absurd amount of FNaF fan games rivaling Five Nights at Treasure Island. I've played version 3 of the first 5 games and the first version of 5 shows at Wario's, but I know nothing about later updates and installments. With this being a UCN game, you don't have to know anything about the story. You have the office from FNAF 1, and if you look behind you, there's a FNAF 2 office. You have a monitor to view the cameras with 2 camera maps. In your office, there's a door on your left and right. Behind you is 2 doorways. One of them you can close and the other has a light. You also have a power usage, which starts at 200 but goes down quicker. This plays out most like your standard UCN game, where you have challenges and will earn points from beating them. You can unlock UI skins and player skins. Behind you is a mirror, which shows your reflections. That's where you can see your player skin. There is 103 threats in the game. Most are taken from the FNAF games, and some are original characters. I obviously didn't beat the max mode since I'm long retired from that stuff, and to my knowledge, no one has beaten the max mode. I could be wrong, but I haven't found any videos of anyone doing it. So basically I'm going to explain how every threat works and give it a rating of 1 to 5 based on how hard they are to deal with. By the way, the reason I'm saying threats instead of enemies is because a lot of enemies are just distractions and some aren't even enemies and are just mechanisms that are customizable. The characters are categorized by the games that they're from. Depending on the game will give you a different game over screen. Let's first talk about the FNAF 1 characters. Wario. He'll attack from your left door. When he appears, you have to shut it until he leaves. The only way to tell if it's still there is to either open the door, but if you open the door at the worst time, you'll die, or you can check the cameras. However, he might literally not leave for the rest of the night. I don't know if this is a bug or if his move timer is just really random, but you can stay there for a very long time, draining your power. You can still make it to 6 AM, but it depends on who else is active. 4 out of 5. Waluigi. He basically acts the same as Wario, but he attacks on the right instead. 4 out of 5. Luigi. 3 Luigis will appear in your office. One of them will be different to the rest. They'll either be missing an ear, button, or a finger. You have to click whichever one is different. You have plenty of time to check, but it requires quite a bit of attention. 2 out of 5. Peach. She'll appear in one of the cellar cameras, which are labeled as letters instead of numbers. All but one of the cameras have her lights blacked out. You can hear her in the cameras that she is in. When you hear her, you have to toggle the lamp. She requires you to be checking the cameras frequently, so it can be quite difficult. 3 out of 5. Mario. He'll go through the computer on your desk and will eventually get into your office. When he appears, you have to pull up the monitor. You don't have much time to react, but he is pretty easy. 2 out of 5. Emma. On your desk will be a bowl with an ingredient above it. You have a patience meter which is going down slowly. To increase it, you have to type the name of the ingredient that you can see. If you type the wrong ingredient though, you'll die. You don't have to focus on it too much since it goes down slowly. 2 out of 5. James. He'll occasionally call you and a mute call button will appear on screen. If you don't unmute him, he'll speed up the FNaF 1 characters. He's really annoying, but he's not actually that much of a threat. 2 out of 5. Witch. You'll hear a laugh every once in a while. When you hear it, your insanity meter will start to increase. To stop it, you must wear a gas mask. When your insanity gets to the top, you'll die. You're given many chances, but you have to be quick. 3 out of 5. Wario Fazbear. You'll hear the Toreador march every once in a while. When you hear it, you have to close the opposite door to where it's coming from and wait until you hear him banging on the door. You're given enough time to react and it doesn't take too long to leave. 2 out of 5. Red Wario. There's a Wario amiibo on the shelf in the office. If it turns red, you have to click it. It's easy to deal with, but you could easily miss it. 2 out of 5. 0.0 Wario. He'll appear in cam 1 and will make a sound cue. When he appears, you have to shock him. 2 out of 5. Wario Man costume. He just appears as a hallucination. He can't actually do anything though. 1 out of 5. Now onto the FNaF 2 characters. Toad. He'll slowly leave cam 11. When he leaves, you have to shut the left door in the back room. He'll make a sound cue when he leaves, but only if you're watching him. His difficulty depends on who else is active, as you might not have as much time to check the cameras. 3 out of 5. 1.0 Bowser. He'll occasionally appear in the office. When he appears, you have to hide in the back room for a few seconds. 2 out of 5. 2.0 Bowser. He'll set fire to the generator, which will drain your power. You have to click the generator multiple times to get rid of him. 2 out of 5. Mario Entity. He'll make holes appear in the cameras. When you hover your mouse over them, your screen will go distorted. If you touch them too many times, you'll die in a unique kill sequence. The holes usually won't get in your way, but you have to be careful. 2 out of 5. Richard McRoy. He'll call you when you have to mute call or he'll speed up the FNaF 2 characters. 2 out of 5. Thomas Taylor. He's supposed to black out some of the cameras and you'll only be able to see them when a lightning strikes. However, I had him on 20, I never saw him, so I don't know if it's programmed right. 1 out of 5. Decorations. They'll appear in the office. You have to remove them or they'll speed up other characters. More will appear the longer you ignore them. They're easily dealt with and I didn't find them to be much of an issue. 1 out of 5. Yoshi. He'll appear in cam 11. When you see him, you have to cut the light, which will prevent you from seeing in that camera. You can just have a light cut the whole time. It doesn't even affect Toad if it's active, but there is one enemy that will get to later that stops this exploit from working, so 2 out of 5. Generator. This is not an enemy. Basically, you can recharge your power by clicking the generator. However, if you click it too many times for too long, it will drain your power. So just click it slowly to regain a small amount of power. Wires. You have to keep charging the wires in cam 5. If you ignore it for too long, the cameras will permanently break. It's basically a music box mechanic. 3 out of 5. Now onto the FNaF 3 characters. Dry Wario. He'll attack from either the left or right door. You can't see him, but you'll hear a heartbeat on whatever side is on. You have to look at whatever side you can hear the heartbeat on until it stops. You don't have much time to react, but he is easily dealt with, however you could easily miss him. 3 out of 5. Ashley. She'll occasionally appear in your office on the left side. You have to go to the back room and open a cabinet which contains a short sight pill, which will temporarily prevent you from seeing while in the office for a few seconds. You can still view the cameras and hear sound cues. 2 out of 5. Wounded Yoshi. He'll start in cam 7 or cam 4. He'll make his way to your office. You have to cut lights in the camera in front of him to prevent him from moving forward. He will eventually move back and try to get through a different path. You have to be paying attention to him the whole night. 4 out of 5. Donkey Kong. He'll appear in a camera. When you see him, you have to switch cameras or he'll stun you and increase your insanity. 2 out of 5. Max Peterson, he'll call you occasionally and speed up the FNaF 3 characters if not muted, 2 out of 5. Edward Coleman, you now have limited camera power which will go down when you use it. When it runs out, you have to wait for it to recharge. The higher the AI is set, the longer it takes to run out, but the longer it takes to recharge, 2 out of 5. Bloodstained Luigi, he'll be in Cam E in a stellar map, you'll hear him moaning. When he stops, you have to close the left door in a back room. He's another character you have to keep watching, 2 out of 5. Bedroom Lamp. It makes some of the cameras upside down, which doesn't really cause any problems, 1 out of 5. Pills. You now have a limited amount of pills, however the minimum limit you can have is 20, which is way too much. Also, you have long sight, which stops you from viewing the cameras, and paralysis, which stops you from looking side to side. However, these pills are completely useless. It's only the short sight that you ever actually need to use. Washing machine. It makes some default click team assets appear on your screen. I don't know if that's a glitch or if it's supposed to be like a troll or something, but it didn't do anything. 1 out of 5. Now onto the FNaF Origins characters. Wario Spirit. He'll make his way to your office. When he's in Cam 1, his next step will be your office. You have to go to the back room and take an invisibility mushroom. 2 out of 5. Bruno Gate. He'll play music every once in a while in Cam F. You have to play the music box which is in the camera to stop him, 2 out of 5. Origins Wario. The lights will go off and the only way you can see in the office is by shining a light. You have limited flashlight battery. When it runs out you have to get a battery from the cabinet. If your flashlight runs out completely you won't be able to see in the office for the rest of the night. Your flashlight runs out very quickly when it's at max, so you must remember to recharge it, 3 out of 5. Mario Spirit. He'll be in Cam A. He'll move closer to you in a camera. You have to watch him to send him back. The longer you leave him, the longer you have to look at him to send him all the way back, 3 out of 5. Virus Wario. He'll appear in one of the cameras. When you see him you must cut the lights in the camera he is in. If you stare at him for too long he'll break the camera. When he breaks the camera you have to click the computer and fix the cameras to be able to use it again. He's annoying but is only problematic if you're looking at him, 2 out of 5. Virus Waluigi. He'll appear at the right doorway in a back room. He'll move closer towards you. You have to send him back by turning the light on. This means you have to be checking the back room regularly, 2 out of 5. Virus Luigi. He'll make pop-up ads appear in a camera. You'll see Luigi in the camera icon that the pop-up is in. You have to close the pop-up or he'll destroy the camera that he is in. He is quite subtle, but it takes a long time for him to destroy a camera that he is in. However, if he destroys a camera that you're supposed to be watching, then you're screwed, 3 out of 5. Virus Mario. He'll slowly come out of the mirror in the back room. You have to turn on the music box in the back room to push him back. You can just leave the music box on the whole night. It's only an issue if another enemy is active, but I'll talk about later, 2 out of 5. Virus Peach. She'll fade in the room that you're in. You have to go to the other room to stop her. She's easy but will kill you very quickly, 3 out of 5. Shadow. He'll appear in a random camera and block your view a bit. You're supposed to show off a camera to redirect him, but I don't know how you do that. It doesn't matter though, as he isn't really a threat at all, 1 out of 5. Winslow. He'll call you and you have to mute him to stop him from speeding up the FNaF Origins characters, 2 out of 5. Troll Virus Wario. He'll appear in a back room and will stay there for a few seconds and will kill you if you use a mushroom while he is in there. He's only a threat if Wario's spirit is active and he can be annoying, 2 out of 5. Rosalina. She'll appear in the office occasionally and make you collect 4 pieces off her wand in the cameras. The cameras of the pieces are highlighted blue, so she's quite easy to deal with, 2 out of 5. Invisibility Mushroom. The invisibility mushroom will spoil after a while and you have to clean it. I'm not sure how you clean it though. It says you have to click it to clean it, but you just eat it if you do that. But it does work though, as it will make you invisible, 1 out of 5. Floating battery. You have to look for the battery in a camera instead of it being in a cabinet. So you have to look for it in a camera to recharge your flashlight. It doesn't really make it much harder though, 1 out of 5. Now onto the FNaF 4 characters. Nightmare Wario. He'll fade in slowly. When he does this you have to click stop Nightmare Wario on a computer. You've got to react quite quickly but it's not too difficult, 2 out of 5. Demon Wario. He'll sometimes appear on the TV screen when you pull down your monitor. You have a lot more time to react than Nightmare Wario but it's more difficult to spot, 2 out of 5. News Reporter. He'll appear on a TV and block your view. You have to click it to make him go away or he'll speed up the FNaF 4 characters, 2 out of 5. Troll Wario. When you switch cameras you might be in the same channel as him. If you stay in the channel for too long he'll kill you. He's very easy dealt with, 1 out of 5. Christopher. When you pull down your camera his diary can appear in your office and increase your insanity. You have to spam click it until it disappears. He doesn't take too long to deal with but you have to be very quick as your insanity goes up a lot, 3 out of 5. Normal Remote. It'll make static take longer to disappear when switching cameras. It's an interesting idea but it doesn't really work in this game, 1 out of 5. Flower Remote. When switching cameras it it can change your camera to a radio camera, which will block out sounds in the camera. You can switch cameras to make it go away. When active, Virus Mario Shell and Virus Toad can't kill you, but it's really annoying and makes checking the cameras a pain. 4 out of 5. Mini remote. The camera UI will be smaller. I don't really find this too annoying, but it is a bit distracting. 2 out of 5. Bronze remote. Whenever you switch camera, you'll lose 1% of your power. Its difficulty varies strongly depending on who else is active, but it can be really annoying. 3 out of 5. Gold remote. When you switch a TV channel, you'll lose 1% of your power. You don't use a TV nearly as much as a camera, so it's barely an issue. 1 out of 5. Bowser remote. The monitor will break every once in a while, forcing you to go to the computer and press fix cameras. It's not as annoying as it sounds, as you can quickly fix the monitors and it's not as frequent as a flower remote. 2 out of 5. Wario remote. When you cut the lights, your power will drain by 1% and you won't be able to switch the camera without turning lights back on. This can be really obnoxious, but it does depend on who's active. 4 out of 5. Ocean remote. From 2 AM until 4 AM, the office will flood and you have to collect bubbles when they appear on screen or you'll drown. You can die very quickly, but it's very easy to collect oxygen. This really varies by how many enemies are active. 3 out of 5. There's a challenge called Secret Aquarium where the office is flooded the whole night, however the remote is the only threat. Wooden remote. It'll stop you from viewing the cameras and TV every once in a while. You have to look for it. It could be in the doorways, on the desk, on the computer, or on the shelf. This can be really problematic if it happens at the worst time. 4 out of 5. Garlic remote. At 5 AM, 5 buttons will appear on your monitor. They are coloured red, green, pink, yellow, and purple. Either Wario, Waluigi, Luigi, Mario, or Peach will appear on your screen. When they pop up, you have to press a colour that matches a character. They aren't too difficult and they won't attack for long. 2 out of 5. Platinum remote. When you turn on computer mode, you lose 1% of your power. I'll explain what computer mode is later, but I will say this is barely a threat at all. 1 out of 5. Naked Wario. Yeah, this is a character in the game. He'll just appear in random cameras in the background or as a shadow. He's just a joke character and doesn't do anything. 1 out of 5. Grey City remote. Every once in a while when looking at the monitor, it'll ask you a question about one of the finals of Wario's games. Your camera will break if you get it wrong or if you take too long. I really like this. I think it's a cool idea, and this is where your knowledge on the previous games comes into it. Some of them are quite random and you'll only know if you're a true fan. Like I said, I'm an old gen FNaF fan and don't know random stuff like did Luigi Kid receive a demo for FNaF Deluxe. It will distract you for a bit regardless on how good your knowledge is, so it'll at least be a 2 out of 5, but it really depends. 1.0 remote. The TV will randomly switch channels. This is only an issue if a certain enemy is active. 2 out of 5. Now onto the 5 shows of Wario's characters. Trailer Virus Wario. You'll be given a task every once in a while. These tasks include hovering your mouse over crosses that appear in your office, spam spacebar, or click space when a number gets to 15. It's a good concept for an enemy, however he appears to be bugged. You are told to press space to stop the stopwatch at 15, however that does not work. I pressed space and it didn't work, so if you get this task, you're fucked. 5 out of 5. Virus Mario. He'll appear in one of the TV channels. You have to make sure the TV is on the same channel as him. He can't appear in the same channel as Troll Wario. He's easily dealt with and will take quite a long time to kill you. 2 out of 5. Virus Toad. He'll slowly pop up from the back room. You have to play a different music box to the one that you use on Virus Mario Shell. You can switch the music box by clicking it. 2 out of 5. Virus Bowser. He'll appear at either your left or right door. You have to shot cam one of his on the left and cam 9 of his on the right. 2 out of 5. Virus Ashley. She'll appear in the office. She'll have an ingredient on her and will say the ingredient that she needs. You have to left click the ingredient to make it switch and then right click the ingredient she's asking for. She takes quite a bit of your attention and kills you quickly, so you have to prioritize her when she attacks. 4 out of 5. Virus Yoshi. He'll appear in a tool storage. You have to stare at him to make him leave. This is the character that makes normal Yoshi an issue, however it's just a less annoying version of Toad. 2 out of 5. Beta Virus Yoshi. You can't see him in the cameras, you have to locate him using the scans. You can use the scan in the camera which varies in strength. The better the scan, the longer it takes to recharge. You have soft scan which has a chance of telling you if it's in the camera you're viewing, but it might not. It's pretty useless. Hard scan will tell you if he's in the camera you're viewing and full scan will tell you exactly where he is on the map. You have to use a music box to lure him into another camera. He takes all your attention as he moves around quickly and you can only find out where he is occasionally. He's one of the biggest threats in the game. 5 out of 5. Virus Daisy. Your camera will have a red corruption that will slowly cover the screen. When it's fully covered, you'll die. To stop it, you have to click switch monitor display to playing with power and click anti-corruption. She literally won't kill you until 5 AM if you ignore her entirely, so she's basically a joke. 1 out of 5. Entity 01. He'll appear in a random camera. You'll hear him in the cameras. When the sound is louder than the rest of the cameras, that's the one you have to shock. If you shock the wrong camera, you'll lose 5% of your power, or well, you're supposed to, but it doesn't actually do that. Here's a very aggressive enemy that can kill you quickly considering how much time you have to be looking for him, 5 out of 5. Entity 0. Apparently if your power usage is high for long enough, it'll stun a random enemy. So he's not an enemy, he's supposed to help, but it comes with a risk. However, I never saw him, so he's either bugged or you need a high usage for a long time in order for it to work. Marquees. You'll have to collect a gem in the cameras to fill the soul essence. You won't be able to reach 6 until it's full. Luckily you have a lot of time to collect it, but it can be extremely annoying if there's loads of enemies active or if they're aggressive. It really does depend on who's active though, 3 out of 5. Platform Man. In the playing with Power Camera you can control him with WASD. You collect batteries that are falling from the sky. When you collect them, your power will go up. It's probably not recommended that you play this when there's a lot of enemies active, as it can be time consuming to actually increase your power by a lot. Yellow Hall Spiky. It'll occasionally fly in from the top of the screen. If you touch it with your cursor, you'll lose a life. You have 30 lives at the start of the night. If you lose all of them, you'll die. He isn't too difficult, 2 out of 5. Red Hall Spiky. It's the same as Yellow Hall Spiky, but it'll fly in from the left instead of the top, 2 out of 5. Emma. Not to be confused with the other Emma that I talked about earlier. You have a ball on your desk. Ingredients will move across the screen. You have to click them when it appears over the bowl. They don't appear too often, but it means that you do have to be checking the office often, 3 out of 5. Mr. Cat. If you get to less than 9 lives, you'll die, so you have 21 lives, 2 out of 5. Instructor. You'll get a call that you have to mute, all the 5 shows of Wario's characters will be sped up, 2 out of 5. False Wario. He'll start in cam 1 and will eventually reach a cellar. When he's in cam A, you have to stare at him, so you have to keep checking cam A, 2 out of 5. False Waluigi. There is a temperature mechanism in the cameras. When he appears in the office, you have to set the temperature to hot. When it's set to hot, the screen will slowly turn orange and will eventually get to the point where you can't see well. You can also set it to cold to lower the temperature if it gets too hot. False Waluigi is quite exploitable, as you can just have a temperature on hot until 1 or 2 AM, then press cold. Then when the temperature gets too low, press hot. You still have to keep paying attention to the temperature though, 2 out of 5. False Luigi. He is hanging from a rope. When he appears in the office, you have to click the rope. When he appears in one of the cameras, you have to click cut the rope on the computer. He's easy to deal with, but you have to be checking the cameras in office a lot, 3 out of 5. False Peach. She'll appear in cam B and will drain your power. A warning will pop up whenever she appears. She drains your power very quickly, so you have to be quick, 4 out of 5. Also, there's a glitch where the warning will sometimes stay on screen after you deal with her, but it won't be flashing. False Mario. In cam A, you have a battery that you must charge. When it's fully charged, a battery will be on the top of your TV. When he appears in the office, you have to put the battery in the computer to suck him into it. He's pretty easily dealt with, 2 out of 5. False Donkey Kong. You have an oxygen meter that will gradually go down. You have to keep coming to cam 5 and cleaning the air. It's basically another music box mechanism. It goes down slowly, but it does take a long time to go up, 2 out of 5. Now onto the FNaF Deluxe characters. Wario. Again, not the same Wario as before. When he appears at your left or right door, you have to shut it for a few seconds. He sounds easy, but he might be the most aggressive enemy in the game. He will kill you within a matter of seconds when he appears, 5 out of 5. James Wario. In the monitor you can switch to the James game display, which is a hand-drawn version of the office. Using the doors or lights won't waste power, but you can only close the doors for 10 seconds. James Wario will attack from the left. If he jump scares you, you'll lose a life. I don't know if this is intentional, but you can leave the lights on the whole time and you can hear the sound cue that he makes when he appears at your door, even when you're not using the camera. Unless there's another enemy active that takes your lives, you'll never come close to losing all of them, so you can completely ignore him, and even if not, he is very easy, 1 out of 5. James Waluigi. He acts the same as James Wario, but will attack from the right. Even with both enemies active, you can still ignore them completely unless Mr. Cat is active, 1 out of 5. Chad. He'll occasionally spawn in your office and will... Wait, what? Why is there a cow in Five Nights at Wario's? Is this just an inside joke, or is he a joke character amongst the FNaF community that I'm not aware of? Anyway, he'll appear in the office and you have to throw a Minecraft milk bucket at him to make him go away. If you take too long, he'll activate an inactive enemy, 2 out of 5. There's a challenge called the Cows game, where you can't deal with him and he'll activate a random enemy every once in a while. True Emma. The office will burn down and collapse more as the night goes on. It doesn't do anything, it's just there to distract you. It won't affect the cameras, 1 out of 5. Lucas McRoy. He'll be in the back room slowly dying. You're supposed to keep him alive by sacrificing 20 power or 5 lives each time. However, doing so won't increase his health by much. If he dies, the night won't ever end. However, he isn't an issue because you can just completely ignore him. His health won't ever run out completely, 1 out of 5. The next 3 games only have a few characters each. One is Subterranean Wario's. Blue Shirt Guy. He'll appear in Cam 10 and will be sleeping. When he wakes up, he'll drain a power slowly and will make your screen blue. You have to click on him to send him back. He's easily dealt with, but is very aggressive, but won't do too much, 2 out of 5. The Man. He'll be on your camera at all times. When you click on him, he'll give you help by either giving you 5 more lives, 25% more power, an electric shield which will give you another chance when you die, high budgets, which I'm not too sure what that does, and another gives you 10 rubies, but there's no such thing. However, when you click him, there's a 10% chance that he will kill you. If you get good RNG, he can be exploited so hard. As long as there aren't too many enemies active, you could gain enough power to just shut the doors a whole night, or even be invincible for a while. It does strongly vary on who's active, and it's best not to rely entirely on him. As a threat though, you can just completely ignore him, so 1 out of 5. Unreal Wario. He is a sprite who will chase your cursor. When he touches it, you'll lose a life. He isn't too difficult to avoid, but my god is he distracting. You're constantly having to move your mouse away from him, and he can easily get you killed by someone else. However, you can break him, as long as there aren't too many enemies active. If you're playing the game on windowed mode, if you move your cursor to the end of your computer screen for a few seconds, he'll move off the screen and will disappear, 1 out of 5. Also, by the way, you should be playing a game in windowed mode at all times, because if you play it in full screen mode, the game will crash every time you die. Now onto the full story of Five Nights at Wario's, which isn't a game, it's a 2-part video that explains lore of FNaF, made by W Wario himself. James Mario. He'll appear on a computer screen while in James' game display and will speed up James Wario and James Waluigi. You have to click on him when he appears. He speeds up characters who aren't a threat, so 1 out of 5. Dementio. He starts in Cam D and will make his way through the cellar cameras. When he gets to Cam A, he will kill you shortly afterwards. You can slow him down by using a lamp in the camera that he is in. He sounds kind of annoying, but is very slow and won't get to Cam A until 4 AM even if you don't watch him at all. You still do have to watch him a bit though, so 2 out of 5. Puppet Luigi. You have to keep winding up the music box in Cam F, 2 out of 5. The last 2 categories literally have just one threat. There's Android Port, which has Android Remote. When you click something, a green cursor will appear and stay still for a few seconds. It barely distracts you and doesn't do anything, 1 out of 5. And lastly there's Fangames Direct, which has Cabin Bowser coin. Every once in a while you have to collect 4 Bowser coins or you'll get killed. You have to look through the cameras to find a coin. You have enough time to collect all the coins, but you have to draw a lot of attention to finding them, which will be a huge issue if it happens at the worst time, 4 out of 5. So, finally, that's all the characters. In fact, that's basically all there is to say about the game. It's a decent game, it certainly can be fun, it has some good mechanisms, and I think half the characters work well. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're a FNaF fan and enjoy max mode. I do think this was too ambitious though, as many characters feel like filler and don't really work. I get that's obviously the point of this game, to be the ultimate FNaF game, and it definitely succeeded on that. I do feel like this game could do with a patch to fix some of the characters who don't do anything or can be exploited. I really don't blame anyone who worked on the game for overlooking a lot of these things though, as there's over 100 characters, and I can imagine testing the game was a pain in the arse. As it is, I think it's an okay enough game. The next game I'm going to review is Five Nights at Tubbyland Retoasted, made by Aaron. It used to be called Five Nights at Tubbyland Recoded, but it got changed during the making of this video. The game was released in September 2025. The game is a recode of Five Nights at Tubbyland made by Clicky Code, based off the children's TV show Teletubbies. There were 4 games made. The first 3 were released from April to August 2015, and a reboot, Tubbyland Archives, was released in July 2022. A 5th game, Tubbyland Archives Act 2, has been in development since 2023. Yes, I allowed recodes to be submitted, since they do have original programming, and FNaF Fangame developers have been reusing textures since the dawn of time. Aaron also recoded Five Nights at Tubbyland 2, but yeah, again, I'm only reviewing 1 game per person. So I like the Five Nights at Tubbyland trilogy. They were definitely some of the best FNaF Fangames for their time. Even after 10 years, they still hold up as being scary games with good graphics. The first game received a lot of updates, which improved the graphics, fixed bugs, and altered the gameplay a bit. This recode actually allows you to change the visuals of the game to the original before they were updated in December 2015. I won't comment on the visuals much since it's 100% reused assets with no alterations, but it does maintain the same haunting feel that the original game has. I also won't go into the game's story, as that has also been unaltered. You get phone calls at the start of each night, which are reused from the original Tubbyland.
Oh, hey! So, I guess you're the new security guard until we open up in a couple of weeks at least. I'm here to give you some advice regarding your role here at Tubbyland.
The enemies are Poe, Lala, Tinky Winky, and Dipsy. Poe will move to a random camera. To stop her, you have to wind up her music box. Lala will move around the cameras randomly. When she gets to Cam Alpha, you have to shut the door on your left until she leaves the camera. You have a power usage that goes down when you view the cameras or have the door shut. Tinky Winky will slowly move towards your office. You have to keep watching him in the cameras to slow him down. All of them are active on every night except for Dipsy, who becomes active on night 3. He'll make his way to you from Cam 5A. When he leaves, you can push him back a camera by pressing and holding Stop Dipsy in the camera he is in, which will unleash fumes. However, you have a limited usage. When he gets to your office, he'll drain the power. It plays out mostly the same as how it did in the original. One difference is that the fumes don't use power and only the fume usage, which I prefer as I feel like the power goes down too fast while using it in the original. An issue that I have with this game, as well as the original, is that the camera drains your power. I usually don't mind this, but you're supposed to be watching the cameras the whole time, so it feels like it was just added to make the game harder. That's the problem with the revamp of Tubbyland. It tried to make the game difficult, but without adding any new mechanisms, so it just altered already existing ones. It does make the game harder, but it also makes it more devoid of strategy and less fun. There's a Nunu the vacuum cleaner Easter egg who's basically Golden Freddy. He has a rare chance of appearing in your office and crashing your game if you don't pull your monitor up. The max mode in this game is very hard. It's completely luck based. You'll usually get killed by either Tinky Winky or the power running out. When you get to 5 AM, Tinky Winky will always be 1 or 2 steps away from killing you. If you watch him too much, the power will run out or you get killed by Lala. If you don't watch him enough, you'll get killed by him. When you beat the max mode, you get a minigame from the original. You play as Poe. The minigame shows a custard machine explosion incident, which is basically Tubbyland's version of the Bite of 87. After you beat the max mode, you unlock classic mode, which is a recode of the beta released in March 2015. It has noticeably lower graphics compared to the full game. The beta only contained 2 nights, however this mode is stretched out to 5 nights. It plays out quite differently. The power only goes down when you close a door, but it goes down very fast. Lala doesn't move randomly and Poe will stay in the repair room. The phone calls are from the first version of Five Nights at Tubbyland.
So, there has been a bit of a search for a missing animatronic, Nunu to be exact. We aren't exactly sure where he is or what happened to him.
There's a secret night in the game that's also in the original, called Night PTLD. You unlock it by clicking on the blood in the game over screen. This is a very different night. The office and the cameras are blacked out. You can only see what's in the office by using a flashlight. Using your flashlight will drain your power. The power starts at 15%. You have to get it to 100 when 6 AM strikes. You charge your power in a random camera. The generator will move around every once in a while. The only enemy active is PTLD 93. When you get to your office, you have to shine a light at him. You'll be able to tell what camera he is in by listening out for buzzing in the cameras. However, the buzzing is so quiet you can barely hear it. PTLD becomes more aggressive as the night goes on. At 5 AM you basically just have to keep checking the office. I've never really been a fan of this night, it's just kinda tedious. Sometimes you can't hear the buzzing at all when he isn't in your office, so it just gets really confusing, but not in a fun way. To top all this off though, when you die, the game crashes. You not only have to start the game again, but you also have to wait until you die in a night before replaying it. You could easily wait 2 minutes between each attempt. Luckily, Night PTLD isn't really that hard, but just boring. When you beat it, you'll get an error screen that tells you to replay or exit the application. Then PTLD jump scares you and you get a fake blue screen of death, which I can imagine would trick some people into thinking their computer actually crashed. In the original Tubbyland, there is a Dream Night, which is accessed by clicking Tinky Winky's left eye and a custom night icon. However, I did that and I didn't access it in this recode. So it's either bugged, not in the game, or you unlock it in some other way. Dream Night has everyone's AI to be at the level you set them to, but this time they are plush versions of themselves. This recode has an extras menu where you can access a custom night in classic mode. This also has cheats which include fast nights, infinite power, infinite fumes, no Tinky Winky, no Poe, and radar. I think these cheats are self-explanatory. That's pretty much all there is to say about the game. I think it's a good tribute game where you can play the most recent version of Tubbyland but with the original game's visuals. For the record, I still prefer the most recent version of Tubbyland to the older versions in spite of its flaws. I'm interested in checking out Tubbyland 2 Retoasted, as the second Tubbyland game is exploitable and I'd like to see how that is handled. Everyone is also making a Tubbyland 3 Retoasted. It's been a very long time since I've played Tubbyland 3, but I do remember it being the best in the series, but it was poorly optimized. Speaking of optimization, Tubbyland Retoasted runs well, but it contains 1.5 gigabytes of storage. Like, how is it that fucking big? The original Tubbyland is only 300 to 400 megabytes depending on the version. Now moving on to the last two FNaF fan games I'm going to be talking about. Every game I've talked about is obscure and you may have never heard of any of them. These two, however, though, are games that are quite well known. The first of these two is Five Nights at Fang's Pizza and Theatre, made by Mew Marissa, who by the way, drew the kangaroo that you are looking at right now, which looks based. Also, yes, a Five Nights at Fang's game got submitted. While this is the first and currently only complete Five Nights at Fang's game, there have been many cancelled versions. And Fang the Wolf has been a well-known FNaF fan character since 2015. Pizza and Theatre was first released as a demo on the 8th of September 2025, and the full game was released on the 10th of October 2025, coincidentally on my birthday. And get this, the game was co-directed by Gold Guy 0710. Yes, the guy who made FNAF co-directed this game. Anyway, let's actually talk about the game. When you first open a game, you get a cutscene, which shows you an event. Then you're at the menu. At the start of night 1, you get a news article saying that Fang's Pizza and Theatre is looking for a night guard to watch the place. At the start of each night, you get a cutscene that shows outside of the restaurant, and it tells you the date that the night takes place on. The game takes place during April of 1996. The first night takes place on the 1st of April, on April Fool's Day. The nights are referred to as their weekdays, with night 1 being Monday. By the way, April 1st, 1996 was actually a Monday in real life. This is by far the best looking FNaF fan game that I've played for this video. I'm actually having a hard time believing that a game that looks this good was actually submitted. Like, this is impressive by modern FNaF fan game standards. This is a good example of a FNaF fan game with high graphics done right. Everything is well rendered, but it manages to be scary as well. The cameras are so dark and the ambience is so quiet, it really does feel lonely. The animatronics also look fantastic. Like the rest of the game, they're very well made, but do look creepy in the same way as the FNaF 1 animatronics. But does the gameplay live up to its visuals? The office is pretty big. You have a window in front of you, a door on your right, and a vent on your left. The office is very dark, but you can look around using your flashlight. You have limited battery though. You can look behind you where there's a shelf that contains 6 batteries. Of course, you have a camera system to look at the animatronics. You can only tell the time by looking at the camera. It shows the in-game minutes, however each minute is not 1 second. The night's go on for about 9 minutes. There's a hand clock above the doorway, but it doesn't actually tell the time, it's just there for decoration. There's also a unique 6 AM screen which shows a calendar. On Monday, Fang and Faye are active. Both are Golden Wolf animatronics. Fang is male and has a green bow tie, and Faye is female and has a pink bow tie with a ribbon on it. If you see any of them in the office, you have to charge up the flashlight by holding the left mouse button until the room flashes, which will make them leave. This will use up a third of your flashlight, and if it has 2 out of 6 bars left, it will run out completely, meaning you have to get a new battery. Faye will attack from the window and Fang can attack from the door or the vent. You'll hear him crawl through the vent. When you can't hear him anymore, he's in your office and you have to charge a light at him in the vent. Wednesday introduces Melody the Bat and Nobs the Purple Bear. Melody can attack a camera. When she does that, a warning will appear in a camera that says system error. You then have to find the camera she is in and stare at her until she goes away. If you take too long, she'll break the camera. Nobs will move towards either the hallway or the ordering station camera. When you watch Nobs, he will slow down. When he's in a hallway or ordering station, you have to watch him to send him back. You have to keep checking these 2 cameras, as if he gets to your vents, you're dead, unless you make it to 6 before he gets to you. Nobs makes you change your strategy completely. You better make sure Melody doesn't destroy the hallway or ordering station cameras. Something funny is that the phone guy, voiced by Toonster, says that Melody is Nobs' niece.
Fun fact, Melody is actually Nobs' niece. Yeah, I know it's weird having a bat related to a bear, but I guess it's just a part of their character lore.
Like, how the fuck does that work? So I guess Melody is part bear, or I guess half bear because one of her parents is supposed to be a bear or something. Okay, I'm looking way too deeply into this, they're just animatronics. On Thursday, Fang Sr. becomes active. He's an older version of Fang who is out of service. He had a glitch where during quieter days at a pizzeria, he wouldn't register anyone's presence and would stop performing. He is definitely the creepiest character in the game. He'll walk into your office through the doorway. If you shine your lights at him, he'll kill you. I really like the animation of him walking in and staring at you in the dark. When he enters your office, you're supposed to stare at him until he goes away. The gameplay overall is really good. I like how much things change throughout the nights. and it's always nerve-wracking when anyone attacks because you don't know if you're too late to stop them. It can get pretty difficult during later nights as well. It does require some RNG, as if you get attacked by two at the same time, you might be able to do anything. But it's not RNG based to the point where it becomes obnoxious. There is a lot more to talk about with this game outside its main nights. You get a phone call each night by Colin. On Monday he tells you that there's been new animatronics added to the establishment, as the old ones were malfunctioning. He also says that there's other restaurants with animatronics that are doing better than Fang's.
We're struggling to keep the doors open. Competition is brutal, and other places with the same gimmick as ours are making things really rough for us. We're barely scraping by, and every little bit of help counts.
On Wednesday, Colin mentions that Fang would deactivate whilst in events, and it would take a long time to get him out because his dummy thick.
Man, dude, don't even ask how long it took for us to get him out. You'd think with how brightly colored he is, we'd spot him immediately, but nope. It took us at least an hour. It would have been quicker if there was a camera in there. One of us had to pull him out by the while the other pulled his shoulders. Can you even imagine doing that at an event?
On Thursday, he said that he saw security footage of the owner who was running around crying.
Our previous owner, before she left unexpectedly, was just all over the place on the cameras about a month ago. She had some odd behavior. Running out crying.
So on each night, there is a floppy disk in your office somewhere. It's always very easy to spot. If you pick up the floppy disk, you'll get to play a free-roam minigame at the end of each night. You start off in an office, you then go into a computer and you're at the pizzeria. These minigames look like an N64 game. On each minigame you have to talk to the boss, also known as the bunny woman, as she wears a bunny mask sometimes, who gives you a task. There's these kids running around the dining area who you can talk to. On Monday you have to empty the bins, on Tuesday you have to mop the floor, on Wednesday you have to prep the tables, and on Thursday you have to refill the cups. You also get a cutscene at the end of each night, which shows you hiding. Then at the end, the bunny woman finds you. Now on to Friday. During the phone call, Colin finds out that the bunny woman murdered 6 children and that the restaurant tried to cover it up.
Oh my god, she did it. She murdered them. I saw it, that feed, the look in her eyes. I knew something was up, I knew it. They're trying to hide it, cover it up. They don't want the bad publicity before the sale. She killed them, all 6 of them. You knew damn well what she did.
One more word and I'll fire you.
Oh, you can't fire me for that.
You're not reading me correctly, but I want you to understand my frustration right now. Classified camera feeds, and you're sharing misinformation.
I'm not sharing misinformation. You guys are trying to cover up a murder.
That's enough. Give me that.
It's later revealed that one of the murder victims was actually her own daughter. The between-night cutscenes show the perspective of a child hiding from the bunny woman. In the Friday minigame, there is a birthday party going on. You pick up a birthday cake and carry it into a room with 6 kids, all wearing a mask. You then get another cutscene, which shows a kid getting caught by the bunny woman. Then Saturday is unlocked. It starts off like a normal night, but then at 1 AM, the animatronics deactivate and you get a voice recording of the bunny woman, who finds out that her daughter, Addie, is still alive.
True. Alive? Are they really in there? Oh my god. She's still alive. There, in her. I thought it was. See, Mom's coming for you.
As you can probably tell, the voice acting in this game is pretty damn good. She possesses one of the animatronics, Miss Willow, who is the only enemy active on night 6 past 1 AM. She is a pink owl animatronic who was put out of service. She's probably the creepiest looking animatronic in the game. She was actually foreshadowed in the Thursday phone call.
They didn't move around much. It was just Fanny Sr., Mr. Bernard, who you now know as Snubs, Miss Phelan, and Miss Miss Willow.
So, Night 6 is pretty damn hard. Miss Willow can attack from the window, the doorway, the vents, or in front of you. You can see her eyes when she attacks, so you need to use a flashlight to flash her, and for a good reason too, because she's extremely aggressive and can kill you very quickly. And she can attack again within a matter of seconds after attacking. You'll usually be down to your last battery by the end of Night 6, assuming you haven't already run out. You can slow Miss Willow down by watching her in the cameras. She'll sometimes be in one of the cameras and you have to stare at her to send her back. So you have to be looking through the cameras quite a lot. When you beat Night 6, you get a news article saying that 6 children were murdered at Fang's by their owner and that the employees were forced to keep it a secret. That's what happens when you beat Night 6 normally, because there's another ending to this game. It's pretty easy to get, in fact I actually got it unintentionally. During each of the minigames, there is a glitch object located somewhere in the pizzeria. When you touch it, you'll be in this never-looking realm where you'll be hallucinating and hearing voices. On each minigame, you have to pick up a piece of Miss Willow, who is surrounded by something. I don't really know what this is supposed to be. The ambience intensifies when you get closer to it. When you pick up the piece, the minigame goes back to normal and you have to continue with the objective you were doing. Normally when you beat a minigame, the bunny woman will thank you, but after touching a glitch object, when you speak to the bunny woman, she'll say something different. I'm sorry, I didn't want it to end this way. I wish I could forget that day. You were always such a wonderful child. And on Friday, she still says thanks. So the bunny woman had an episode and killed 6 children, but deeply regrets it as seen in the Saturday phone call. After you beat Saturday, after finding all the glitches, you'll play another minigame. There's text that reads, follow me. Miss Willow will be teleporting around and you have to follow her. A doorway that has been shut the whole game is now open, and it leads to a dark hallway. You then talk to Miss Willow. You found all of me. That's good, I was waiting. I really thought she wouldn't, but she did. She hurt us. She left me. She said I was broken. But I'm not broken anymore. Do you remember the songs, the cake, the party? No one came to help us. No one came for me. It should have been her. She said so. She just watched it all happen. She watched me die. She is still out there. You on the other hand, you set me free. You deserve a gift for that. Look behind you. Then you turn your computer off and look behind you. You see Miss Willow whose face cracks open, then she jump scares you. You then get a news article saying that Fangs have partnered with a rival restaurant, Charlie's Pin Palace, and that a new restaurant is opening called Fang's Bowl and Bites. You then get a cutscene of you in a vent while someone is crying, presumably the bunny woman, then a face appears in front of you before you wake up in your bedroom. You go on the laptop and appear to be on a website for Fang's Bowl and Bites, then the credits roll. Also, doesn't this music sound familiar to you? After that, you unlock a custom night, which has Miss Willow active alongside the other characters. Yeah, I'm not beating that. There's an extras menu that you can access at any time, which shows the characters, cut content, and cutscenes. There's also this helpy-like character called Foof, who is cute, but come on dude, it's 2025. It's not over yet though, as in the menu there's question marks. When you click them, you unlock Five Nights at Fang's The Golden Days Director's Cut. This is a remake of the Golden Days beta from 2015, but as a full game with 5 nights. At the start you get a news article that says that a new pizzeria known as Fang and Friends Family Diner has opened and is looking for a security guard. It has the same graphics as the original Golden Days. Fang and Nubs are going to be in the Golden Days and look the same as how they look in the original. Faye and Fang Sr. also make a return, however Fang Sr. is actually Withered Fang, but is pretty much the same character. For some reason Melody isn't in this, but I'm guessing that's because she wasn't made until long after the Golden Days. Your office has a window and a doorway on your left and right. You have a flashlight that you can use to look around. This time you have an unlimited amount of battery. If someone appears at one of your doorways, you have to flick a light switch. There's one on your left and right, however they both turn the light on both sides. Fang and Faye attack from the left. Faye can also attack from the window. When you see her at the window, you still just have to turn on the lights, which is a bit confusing as she's nowhere near the light switches. Nubs will attack from the right. Withered Fang acts a bit differently. When he gets to your right, you have to flicker your flashlight at him until he leaves. There's also a new enemy, Shadow Fang, who'll sit on top of a gift box in your office. When you see him, you have to pull up the monitor. If I'm being honest, this game mode is really boring. It's just so easy, you never have to view the camera unless Shadow Fang is there. And everyone else is dealt with a flick of a switch, so there's not any tension. Although I do understand that this is essentially a faithful complete version of Golden Days, a FNaF fan game that is 10 years old, so mediocrity is to be expected. Also, there's a bug where if you die, you'll be stuck on the game over screen forever, meaning that you have to restart the game. One thing that I do like about this game mode though are the minigames that you get after you beat each night. They were based off the minigames from the Golden Days. The minigames feature an orange guy known as the Bunny Man. In the original Fang's lore, the Bunny Woman was actually the Bunny Man, but the gender was changed in Pizza and Theatre. I'm pretty sure these are separate timelines, so I don't think the Bunny Woman is canonically trans and that these are completely different characters. The Night 1 minigame has you play as the orange guy who starts in the living room. There appears to be a smaller orange guy, so it gets as his kid, and I don't know what this is supposed to be. You go outside and then 3 bullies come up to the orange guy and start insulting him. Hey you, bunny ears, you look scared and crying, you're surrounded, what are you gonna do? Go to mummy, cry to daddy, being a loser must suck, but it's all you'll ever be, haha, no one loves nerds, now go put a cock in it, we don't want to see your face again. Jesus, what did this guy do to deserve that? The Night 2 minigame is a take cake-like minigame where you play as Fang and give children cupcakes. Outside is the orange guy's child. Later an orange car pulls up and the orange guy gets out of the car and picks up his kid. Then he just dumps someone's dead body out of his car, so I guess he turned murderous because of the constant harassment he was getting. In the Night 3 minigame you play as an orange guy, you're at the pizzeria, you go to the backstage and put on a Fang suit. You then go around giving children gifts. After you give all of them gifts you'll hear a ticking noise before the minigame ends. In the Night 4 minigame you play as an orange guy's kid, who is at Fang's. You go down a hallway towards a door that says employees only. You then open a door and see a nub suit, then the minigame ends. And lastly, after beating Night 5 you get a minigame where you play as a ghost child. You're at the pizzeria which appears to be closed. You go into the parts and service and see the orange guy next to 2 Fang suits. One of them has a body inside. You play as a ghost of whoever was stuffed into the suit. You then possess the suit, go up to the orange guy and push him into the Fang suit where he gets spring locked. Then you get a paycheck that reveals that you play as Henry Johnson and that the game takes place on the 31st of August 1983. Also, this is the Gooding ending. So that's the end of Five Nights at Fang's Pizza and Theatre. This is a really good game that I would definitely recommend checking out if you haven't played it already. This is probably what a new mainline FNaF game would look like if it kept the same vibe that the first 4 games had. It's good to see a game like this getting attention even before I covered it. This game also apparently took 7 months to make, which is refreshing since most games like this spend actual years in development. There's currently an update planned for the game which will add more characters to the custom night. There's a sequel in development right now called Five Nights at Fang's Bowl and Bites, which was teased at the end of Pizza and Theatre. However, this game has been in development since August 2020, before Pizza and Theatre was even planned. The game has been on a 2-year-long hiatus, but will be getting back into development when the update for Pizza and Theatre is out. And I do look forward to playing Bowl and Bites when it comes out. Now on to the last game that I'm going to be reviewing, which is probably the most well-known game that was sent to me. Yes, that's right. Pizza and Theatre isn't even the most popular game that was sent to me. I only have 10,000 subscribers, calm down. The game I'm talking about is False Frights. It was directed by Alari, but a lot of people worked on this game. It was released on Halloween 2025, after I announced that I'll be playing FNaF fan games made by my fans. So I was actually asked to review this game before it blew up, and I was very surprised when I started getting videos of the game in my recommended. Anyway, let's talk about the game now. So the reason why it's called False Frights is because it features FNaF hoaxes. Technically this game is a demo, and it did say that in order for a game to be submitted, the game must be finished. However, I was told that the game is pretty much finished, and that the only thing that isn't in the game are between night segments, and that there is 5 hours worth of gameplay to this demo. So I decided to play it, and yeah, I spent 3 fucking days playing this game. And I would not spend that long on a game I don't like. So what is this game? False Frights is formatted like no other FNaF fan game. There are 6 nights in the game plus a custom night. The nights are referred to as Frights. Before you play each Fright, you'll be at this map. You can choose which path to go down. You have 3 lives. If you run out of lives, you have to restart the whole game. On Frights 1, you'll choose 3 out of 9 enemies to be active. When an enemy is active, they'll be active on every Fright until you lose all of your lives. It will give you a random objective, which will either be surviving until 3 AM, collecting a certain number of balloons in the cameras, or throwing a certain number of pieces of paper at a plushie that flies through the office. office. Each challenge will be harder on later Frights, with there being more balloons to collect and more plushies to hit, and it'll take longer to reach 3 AM. The enemies will also become more aggressive. For Fright 2 you'll have 2 paths to choose, each will have a different enemy or challenge. The top path will give you 2 options for what the challenge will be, whilst the bottom will make you have to play one challenge. You'll always find out what the challenge is before you select and who the enemy is. Unless the enemy that was supposed to be active is already active, then it will make a random enemy active. On both Fright 3 and 4 you'll either have to pick between 2 enemies but you can't pick the challenge, or pick between 2 challenges but you can't pick the enemy. Whichever one you pick for Fright 3 will be the opposite for Fright 4. And for Fright 5 you have 2 options for an enemy. If you pick the top one you'll have to do a certain challenge, whilst if you pick the bottom one you can choose between 2 challenges. However, you can only pick 2 overall. This is certainly a very creative concept, and it makes replaying the game fun as you'll never have the exact same run. This is obviously very luck based, as you could get a bad combination of characters. Now I will say that this game is not scary at all, not even in the slightest. It can be intense, but it doesn't have a creepy atmosphere or anything, but that was definitely intentional. The music that plays during the night is clearly not trying to be scaring. However, I do like the soundtrack of this game. Also, the game doesn't have jump scares. When you die, you just hear a chop sound. You'll then get a tip that tells you why you failed. The office is a FNaF 2 office, and the cameras are all FNaF 1, 2 and 3 cameras but slightly edited. Like I said, these are FNaF hoax characters, mostly Photoshop FNaF hoaxes. In this game, they weren't ripped from the images where the hoaxes originate from, they're actually original renders. You have Nightmare Golden Freddy, who was a rumoured character to appear in FNaF 4 after a fake tease was made by Pixel Deus on the 9th of May 2015. He was a combination of recoloured Nightmare Freddy from the teaser and withered Golden Freddy from FNaF 2. In False Frights, Golden Freddles will pop up in your office. When 3 of them appear, you have to click and drag them off the edge of the screen. There's Purple Guy, who obviously isn't a hoax, he's a character in FNaF, but I believe this is specifically referring to a rumour that the Purple Guy can kill you in FNaF 2. This game's version of Purple Guy looks like the Purple Guy in a video by Epic Surfing Vids called Purple Guy Jump Scare, published on the 31st of December 2014. In False Frights, every once in a while he'll appear in your office and increase your exposure fast. You have to wear the mask until he leaves. He will be in a hallway in front of you before he attacks. You can only see him if you use a flashlight. He'll attack 1 second after you see him, so you should keep checking the hallway periodically. Once your exposure increases, it will never decrease, so you gotta be careful. There's Vincent, which was a common alias to the Purple Guy before his name was revealed. However, the character himself is actually based off the Purple Guy animatronic hoax in FNaF 2, who was withered Golden Freddy, edited and recolored purple. In False Frights, a purple mist will fill the office more and more. When you wear the mask, it will start to fade away. Vincent's pupils will show when he's about to kill you. There's Yellow Freddy and Devil Freddy, who both do the same thing and will always be active at the same time. Yellow Freddy is a FNaF 2 hoax from a video by Roxo 1987 published on the 26th of February 2015, which showed his jump scare. He is withered Chica, but the top of her head was edited to look like withered Freddy, but recolored yellow. And Devil Freddy is a UCN hoax from a video by Communic Gaming. This video actually had commentary where he acts like he actually encountered the hoax. They can attack from your vents. Yellow Freddy will go to the left and Devil Freddy will go to the right. Cam 3 leads to the left vent and Cam 4 leads to the right vent. When they get to your vent, you'll hear a banging sound. You then have to shock the vent by pressing a button above the vents in the office. After you shock a vent, its usage will go down as seen in the camera next to them. You can recharge them by holding charge shock. There's Nightmare Fan, who was made as a joke teaser on the 9th of July 2015. Souls is Varion who actually made the hoax. In the original, it was simply just an office fan with spikes on the bottom. In this game though, it actually has a full body. They have endoskeleton-like limbs and a bow tie. They'll be in an office the whole Fright and will occasionally move to one of the vents or the hallway. If they're going to one of the vents, you have to shock them. If they go to the hallway, you have to shine a light at them until they go back. There's Chrome Freddy, who is a light green Freddy with no eyes. He's from a commentary video by Jimbathy who explains how you encounter the hoax. In False Frights, whenever you pull up the camera, you have to go to 2 cameras that a pop-up asks you to go to before closing the monitor. If you pull your monitor down without going to the cameras 3 times, he will kill you. There's Phantom Bonnie, who has had many hoaxes made about him appearing in FNaF 3. He is usually an edit of FNaF 1 Bonnie or Withered Bonnie made to look like a phantom. In False Frights, he's an edit of normal Bonnie. When you have your monitor up, he'll fade in. When he fades in fully, he'll disable the camera you're looking at. If he fades in fully again, he will kill you. There's Malware Mangle, who's who's a fan-made FNAF AR character by Pope Tapu GX, made in May 2020. Malware Mangle is not as well known as the previously mentioned characters, but many who knew about them thought that they were a leaked character for an upcoming update in FNAF AR. Originally they're just a slime-coloured mangle, but in False Frights they're a green mangle with no teeth, a glowing right eye and code in the left eye. A virus will appear in one of the cameras, you have to click it until it goes away. If 3 of them appear for too long, you're dead. There's Fliptrap, who is a purple Springtrap-like character who is rumoured to appear in Security Breach. There were multiple people who made the hoax. He will appear in a random camera. If you pull your monitor down while looking at him, he will kill you, so you have to not be looking at the camera he is in before pulling down the monitor. There's Tire Track Freddy, who is apparently a hoax toy. There's a McFarlane set of the FNAF 1 office that comes with a Freddy figure known as Tire Track Freddy, but this set doesn't exist. In False Frights he'll appear in your office as a blueprint. You have to build him by searching for his body parts in the cameras. You have to find both his legs, both his arms, his torso and his head. You have to collect them within a certain amount of time. You'll give him enough time to find them, but you have to focus on him. Luckily once you've built him, he won't be a threat for the rest of the night. There's Endless Cycle of Death, who is probably only a hoax for about 20 minutes, but I have nothing against its addition. In part 3 of Markiplier's FNAF 2 video titled Endless Cycle of Death, the thumbnail shows a withered Bonnie with the top of Withered Chica's head with blacked out eyes and red pupils. In False Frights, there's these endoskeleton heads in 3 random cameras which are highlighted by the camera icons being red. When an endoskeleton disappears, the next time you pull your monitor down, Endless Cycle of Death will appear in your office and you have to wear the mask. Your exposure will go up quite quickly, so you gotta be quick. One thing that you can do is wear the mask as soon as you pull the monitor down, like what you do with Golden Freddy in FNAF 2. If you go too long without looking at the camera, they'll attack, so you can't just completely ignore them. There's Withered Puppet, who is a fan-made edit of the puppet made to look withered made by Fazboggle. She will be in cam 3. Her music box will be going down. In the office, you have a panel where you can put in a code. There'll be a 4-digit code in cam 3 that you have to type in to wind up the music box. There's Withered Golden Toy Freddy and Withered Golden Toy Bonnie. These are 2 separate enemies, but they do mostly the same thing. I couldn't find anything on these characters, but I do know about normal Golden Toy Freddy and Golden Toy Bonnie, so these might just be altered versions of them that were made for the game. Golden Toy Freddy is a widely spread fan-made character who's been in countless FNAF Fangames and even in Gmod. I wouldn't be surprised if some actually thought that the character was in FNAF 2. Golden Toy Bonnie is another fan-made character, but isn't anywhere near as recognizable as Golden Toy Freddy and was more prevalent during the late 2015 era. I mostly recognize this character from Hadman's games and Bonnie Simulator 2, so I don't know if I'd really consider this a hoax. They will go to either left or right vent. When they get in, you hear a bang noise. You then have to shock them. However, they act a bit differently to Yellow and Devil Freddy. If you watch them in the cameras, they'll move faster. If they're both active at the same time, they'll act differently. Golden Toy Bonnie won't move faster when being watched, and Golden Toy Freddy will instead attack from the hallway and you have to wear the mask when he gets in. Also, if there's more characters who increase your exposure active, the exposure meter will be bigger to make the game more fair. If you wear the mask for too long, Grey Freddy will fade in and will eventually kill you if you don't take the mask off. Grey Freddy is a grey withered Freddy. The only information I found on this hoax was a page on the FNAF Hoax Wiki, made by Slemak Wary, who might have actually made the hoax himself. There's Phone Guy, who is based off the Game Over screen that shows Mike Schmidt in the Freddy suit. I couldn't find any other information on the Phone Guy stuff in the Freddy suit being a hoax, so I guess it was just made for the game. There's a telephone on your desk that will occasionally ring. When it rings, you have to answer it. Then a Freddy suit will appear in your office and you have to spam click the mute call button that will appear randomly. He can kill you pretty quickly, but it's easy to deal with. You can click the phone at any moment to make him attack, which resets his move timer, which you can make it so that he won't attack you at the worst time. There's Chica the Killer. Apparently a friend of Alari told them in school about the character and showed an image of a white Chica with Jeff the Killer's face. When 7891 is entered into the custom night in FNAF 1, you get jump scared by Chica the Killer. This could literally be some bullshit that a kid at school went around telling people and it made it into an actual game years later. Although there could have actually been a post that said this, but couldn't find any information on it, so it's probably lost or too obscure to find any information on it by searching it. She will be in cam 11 and will be fading in slowly. If she fades in fully, she will kill you. If you pull the monitor down whilst looking at cam 11, she'll appear in the office and say 4 random numbers you have to type into the keypad. If you take too long, and by that I mean like 3 seconds, she'll start increasing your exposure. There's Educational Endoskeleton, who is Endo 01 with a monitor on his torso. He's apparently from a hoax version of FNAF 1 called Five Nights at Freddy's Education Edition. I couldn't find any information on this hoax outside of a FNAF Hoax Wiki article which was made by Alari, so this character might have actually been made for False Frights. He'll be in the office the whole time. He'll occasionally ask you a math question, which will always be a 4-digit number minus or plus another 4-digit number. There's Emerald Foxy, who is a green withered Foxy that I couldn't find any information on. The only thing I found was an edit of Withered Foxy on DeviantArt made Lights Look Green by Bendy Fun, where he's named Emerald Foxy. This was made in September 2023, so this is probably where the character originated from. If that's correct, there is no way anyone actually thought this character was in one of the FNaF games, so it's definitely not a hoax unless there's more to it that I don't know about. In False Frights, Emerald Foxy will be in a random camera. You have an emerald meter that is visible in the cameras. It will go down gradually, and if it runs out, Emerald Foxy will appear in the office. He will be moving across the screen past the hallway. He is opaque and will be fading in. If you shine your light to the hallway, he'll fade out more. If he fades in completely, you'll die. He will eventually go back if you keep getting him to fade out almost completely. When you watch Emerald Foxy in the cameras, the meter will go up. However, if it gets too high, he'll appear in the office. You should try not to get it almost too high, as he could appear in a camera you're supposed to view and you'll unwillingly increase the meter too much. There's Mole Chica, who is a green light with a Chica. She apparently is a FNaF 3 hoax created by Not Peter on Twitter. I couldn't find the original hoax or any further information on this character, so this was very obscure before appearing in False Frights. She will make cameras in her path moldy, those being cam 10, 2 and 8. She'll move faster when those cameras are moldy. You can clean the mold in the camera you're looking in by holding the clean button. She'll enter the office and increase your exposure. You have to wear the mask. There's Insane Demon Killer Freddy. That is the most emo fucking name I've ever heard. I once again couldn't find any information on this hoax outside of its wiki page, made by this guy, which I think is just a parody of some exaggerated hoax character some kid would make up in 2014, and it made it into the game. Here's this black Freddy with tentacles. Whenever you pull your monitor down, he'll be in the hallway and you have to flicker the light at him until he goes away. He will kill you if you view the monitor while he is there. And lastly, there's Red Eyes. This character's origins are weird. There's an image of a black figure with red eyes in a FNaF 2 office, and there's red eyes in the monitors. The image was uploaded onto FNaF Hoax Wiki by Slemak, who never elaborates on what this image is. Then there was a search to find where the image originated from, when it was most likely just made by Slemak. In False Frights, there's 8 eyes, one on each monitor in the office. One will disappear each time you lower the monitor. When all of them are gone, a black figure will appear in your office and you have to wear the mask, increasing your exposure. There's a chance that after you beat a Fright, it will say a new challenger is approaching, and a new enemy will be introduced, Static Guy. He is also from an Epic Surfing Vids video. This one is from the 18th of November 2014. He is a shadow figure that appears in FNaF 2. In False Frights, static will slowly fade in the office. When it fades in completely, you'll die. When you look at the camera, the static will fade out. This will also make it difficult to see. He is a complete wanker and will likely fuck up your run if you get him. Luckily, he isn't very common. Before I continue, I've got to address one major issue I have with the game, and that is optimization. It is atrocious. It lags quite a lot, which got me killed a few times, especially on Fright 6. The screen sometimes goes black and will stay that way unless you restart the game, and starting it up is a pain in the ass. It can take ages because it oftentimes crashes. I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but my computer is capable of running Final Night 4 without lagging at all, so it's not like I have a weak computer. There's an option to play the game in low spec mode, but it still takes a long time to load and lags. You can even play a browser version of the game, but it still lags and is difficult to get running. This game only has 200 megabytes, which really confused me. Sure, there's a lot of mechanisms and enemies in the game, but I've played games with far more and it runs perfectly. Now, don't quote me on this because I don't know if this is the case, but it might be because of its engine. This game was made using Turbo Warp. I am not an expert on this engine. Heck, this is the first and currently only game I've actually played that was made using Turbo Warp. But I do know there is an upgraded version of Scratch. Yes, Scratch. So a game like this might have came close to maxing out its limitations. The reason you would use it is because it's free and easy to use as opposed to Click Team, which is costly as fuck. Nonetheless, this game does not run very well. One last character that I haven't talked about is Emerald Freddy, who is a green golden Freddy variant with melted eye sockets. He is a FNaF 1 and 2 hoax made by AB Team on the 18th of March 2024. With this being in 2024, this character is an ARG and obviously hasn't fooled anyone into actually believing it's in the games. It's only active on Fright 6, alongside everyone else who is active. There's a random 4-digit code in every camera. Emerald Freddy will be in a random camera. You have to type in the code on the camera that Emerald Freddy is in 15 times to win. After entering the code, he'll sometimes appear in the office and you have to wear the mask quickly. He won't increase your exposure though. The overall difficulty of your run really depends on who's active alongside each other. For example, Phantom Bonnie is very easy on most nights, but when Flip Trap is active, he becomes much harder. Tire Track Freddy's pretty easy as long as you focus on him until you build him. But if you have Chrome Freddy active alongside him, he becomes insufferable. Some characters are more annoying if you have to collect the balloons, and you might not have to view the camera at all during a fright. Most characters who increase your exposure are fairly easy, but it gives you a time limit to complete the challenge, as they'll usually increase your exposure by a bit every time they attack. Some of them will always increase your exposure. This is a big issue when you're against Emerald Freddy, as it takes a long time to deal with him. The easiest exposure characters are definitely Purple Guy and Red Eyes, as you can easily find out if they're about to attack. But even then, by the time you get to Emerald Freddy, you won't be able to focus on them enough. Chrome Freddy, Phone Guy, Withered Puppet, Chica the Killer, and Educational Endoskeleton are also characters you do not want active whilst dealing with anyone else who increases your exposure, as you can't stop the exposure from increasing when dealing with them. If you have too many vent characters active, you'll have to keep recharging a shock, and you might not have enough time to do that. Vincent and Golden Nightmare Freddy are probably the only characters who never really gave me grief. Sure, they serve a purpose, but I would say they're the easiest characters. Malware Mangle and Golden Toy Bonnie can be very easy, but depends on who else is active. Now, I'll admit, I did not beat Emerald Freddy, because probably half the times I died on Frights 6 was due to the game lagging or blacking out, and it takes so long to make it back to Emerald Freddy. But obviously, with this being a popular FNaF fan game, countless people have managed to beat it. After you beat Frights 6, you get a cutscene where a purple 8-bit Fredbear is talking to you. You have done well, but you have not earned your freedom yet. There is more to be seen, and it will be here very, very soon. So sit tight, just as you have done before, and I will wait for you. May we meet again, my best friend. Then you unlock Custom Fright, where you can decide who's active and how aggressive the enemy is. You can only customize characters that you had active during the run you completed. That does make me wonder, has anyone ever actually unlocked all the characters? And that's all there is to say about False Frights. I really like the concept of this game. It's a luck-based game that actually got me invested. It's a game that you could spend a very long time on it, and it has a lot of replayability to it. Every character works well. Some are obviously a lot more annoying than others, but I believe that all probabilities are beatable and just might require a lot of luck and memorization. The only thing that holds this game back from being a truly great game is that it's so poorly optimized. That's the only reason why I didn't beat the game. Like I said, there are countless FNaF fan games out there with a lot more CPU than this one, yet they run smoother, so better optimization is definitely possible. Especially if this game is getting an update. Like, bloody hell. I wouldn't call this game too ambitious, as it might just need a recoding click team and that'll fix the issues. To be honest, that's really the only problem I have with this game. I think it's really good, and it'd be cool to see more games like it. This is definitely one that I'm glad is getting the recognition it deserves. So that's the end of the game submissions part. Thank you everyone who submitted, I really appreciate it. Now moving on to the Q&A part of the video. So I asked you guys to send me questions, and you guys, you did that alright. I got over 100 questions in total. Yeah, I'm not reading all that, hell no. I would be here for hours if I had to answer every single one, and many of them are just the same question as well, so yeah, I didn't answer every question, but I picked out a lot still though. Before I get to the answers though, I will say that this part of the video is unscripted, as you can probably tell by the way I'm talking. I did this because I kind of wanted to record my reactions to seeing the questions. Obviously questions that I didn't answer or just didn't have an interesting answer for are not going to be in the video. I edited them out. Sometimes obviously I stutter or just don't really know what to say. I did edit the video for the sake of you guys' sanity and entertainment, but yeah, I will definitely be talking differently to how I usually talk in these videos. Also, I'd just like to disclose that the FNaF video had not been released when all this was recorded, so I won't be answering any questions related to that. With all that said, let's start answering some questions. The first question is by Grayscale, who asked, would you ever make a FNaF fan game? I actually have made a few FNaF fan games in 2020 and 2021. Most of them were reskins, and the ones that weren't reskins were some of the worst FNaF fan games ever made. Yeah, sounds familiar, but unlike Psycho Clown though, I'm done. Nah, there's not going to be any more FNaF fan games from me. I've long lost interest in making games, I just talk about them now. PK Pony are asked 3 questions. The first one is, what video did you enjoy making the most? That's a very difficult question because there's, like, the videos are the same kind of thing. They're very similar to each other, but as far as like the production goes, it's very different though. Some of them I've got to do a lot more research than others. Some of them it's as simple as this though, just play the game and talk about it, there you go. And I'd be lying if I told you that the easier videos aren't the most enjoyable ones. The easiest long video I've had to make that I definitely would say I had a lot of fun making, I'll say it's a Hadman video. Another reason why I had a lot of fun making that video as well is because I was looking back at like a lot of childhood favorites of mine, because like I'd played almost all of Hadman's games when I was a kid, and to like dissect them after playing them for so long, especially when I didn't even know. Like Fredbear Workshop is a game I really liked as a kid, and I did not know how it ended. I didn't know about like the kid getting smashed with a hammer, and that kind of took me by surprise when I found that out. So if I had to choose one, I would say that. Second question is, will you make essays on other obscure FNaF fan games? Well, yeah, that's basically what I do. The third question is, what is your favorite and least favorite TRTF character? Favorite TRTF character, I would probably say, I've always liked Vigo. I just think his like snake animatronic was a very unique concept, and I like his design. I just always liked him. If we're asking, I'm not sure if we're asking about animatronics and humans, because there's a big difference. Favorite human character, I'd probably say is Gron. He's just a lot more complex than the average FNaF fan game character, and I think deserves a bit more recognition since he's just kind of known as a funny guy who slipped on soap, when there's a lot more to him than that. As for my least favorite, I don't think I really have one. There's a lot of TRTF characters I have like no opinion on. They're just kind of forgettable, whatever, but there isn't really anyone that I can think of that stands out for being really bad, so I don't really think I can answer that one. Dreadbear and Stripe Gaming asked 3 questions. First one is, what made you start doing video essays? So when I was a teenager, I was really into watching reviews of obscure movies and obscure video games, typically old ones that no one remembers. I just always thought it was interesting. And in like 2021, 22, I started to get nostalgic towards FNaF. And of course, it's Fangames, because I grew up with loads of FNaF Fangames. And I was thinking, you know what, it'd be really cool if someone did like these long form videos on these FNaF Fangames I grew up with. It'd just be really cool to see people talk about them. But I didn't think that I could make those, because at the time I didn't make high quality content at all. I made absolute garbage. So yeah, but then years passed, and no one was doing it. And after the success of the Lost FNaF Fangames iceberg, I just thought, you know what, people are actually starting to like me, so maybe I should do this. So I did a video on the Last Night at Freddy's, and people liked that. So then I did a video on Fazbear's Return, and that exploded in popularity. So I just thought, alright, this is just what I'm going to do from now on. Second question is, who's your favourite FNaF character? I would say Springtrap. I think he's like the first good FNaF character, and I don't really keep up with like newer FNaF lore. I struggle to name most of the human characters who are actually relevant in over the few years, so Springtrap remains my favourite, I would say, even though it sucks they keep on bringing him back. Springtrap, I guess, also counts as William Afton, because they're like same character. I've always really liked the him getting spring locked and being trapped there for 30 years. Like, obviously William Afton's like, you know, a terrible person and all, but like, that sounds really fucked though, and there's definitely a lot of speculation as to what the fuck he was going through during those 30 years, and how he felt like after he finally came back as Springtrap. That's just always interested me. Third question is, what other media do you like that isn't FNaF? Before I got into FNaF, my favourite game was Plants vs Zombies. I was obsessed with that game for years, the series for years, just say. Garden Warfare was like, that was my FPS growing up. I mean, yeah, it's not really an FPS, but you get what I mean. So if I had to pick like one game that isn't FNaF, I would probably say Plants vs Zombies. YoshiBoy2010 asked, is there any other FNaF fan game that your favourite besides TRTF, the Fanverse games, or any popular old FNaF fan games in general? Well, TRTF is not my favourite FNaF fan game series. I'm not sure where you got that from. I have previously said that Joy of Creation story mode is my favourite, and like I've been always saying that, but you know, there are other FNaF fan games that I would say are on par. Like, I'm a huge fan of Fire Nights 4. I would say that might even be better than the Joy of Creation story mode. It's definitely the most, I'd say it's probably the one that I could have the most fun replaying, I'll say, because there's just so much content packed into that game. Capt Minor asks, do you plan to cover types of old, obscure, or lost FNaF media, like movies and other stuff, or do you want to focus more on games? I would really like to talk about more lost media, aside from just FNaF fan games, because I'm just a big fan of lost media in general, not just like FNaF lost media. I would possibly do something like that in the future, but none of that's going to happen anytime soon though. The thing is, 99% or maybe even 100% of my viewers are either current or former FNaF fans, and I know most people would not be interested if I covered like lost media that has nothing to do with FNaF or even a video game or anything like that. And I know some people are going to comment, oh, I would, but I'm afraid you are in the minority. If I did, this is going to sound very narcissistic of me, but like if I did have like hundreds of thousands of views on average, I would definitely consider doing something like that, because at that point, if I made a video that isn't on FNaF, it would still get, a lot of people would still watch it, but just, you know, I don't want to spend ages working my ass off only for the video to only get like 1,000 views. That's not really enough. As for covering FNaF lost media that isn't FNaF Fangames, again, that's something I would really like to talk about, but the problem is with FNaF lost media is that it's just so undocumented. Like, considering how many there is, no one talks about them. Luckily though, it's very easy to talk about lost FNaF Fangames because it's simple as this. Find a video of a FNaF Fangame, and here's a question: can you still play it, yes or no? If the answer is no, then boom, there you go. Lost FNaF Fangame. For instance, if I did a video on like lost FNaF videos, I can only talk about ones that have actually been reported as lost. Like, I definitely could make that into a video, but it would be a very difficult video to research, and I'm not sure how long the video would be. It probably wouldn't be that long because there just isn't really that much. I will say though, if someone were to make a list of like hundreds of FNaF lost media that isn't FNaF Fangames, if you published that and gave me permission to make it into a video, I would definitely consider that, because I would really like to make a video like that if research wasn't such a bitch. Cat Minorly asked 2 more questions. The first one was, will you occasionally review some of the newer FNaF games if they're interesting enough? Yeah, it's not really that they're not interesting enough, it's mainly I just don't really keep up with them. I plan to review FNAF 6.5 when that comes out, because that's apparently going to be the final FNAF game, and like the definitive FNAF. And you know, after all this time, with it being in development hell, yeah, 6.0 is no longer canon for those who haven't kept up with FNAF, and I think it would just be cool to like do some of a retrospective on that when it comes out. And the other question was, which other series by Unstoppable Troll Gaming do you think deserves another chance, either Fright After Fredbear's Diner or Those Weeks at Fredbear's? As in, like, because Benny the Clown is still going, they're making original games of that, and Left to Rust is also getting a remake. If I could decide which one got a remake, I mean, it's kind of difficult to really say, because those games are, like, very convoluted. Like, you could tell that Psycho was just really making stuff up as he went along, and even by the end, there wasn't really any kind of consistent narrative. While I do prefer Those Weeks to the Fright games, I do think the Fright After Fredbear's Diner you could definitely do more with that, because that definitely had more of a narrative to it. You could make sense of it, make it a lot better and less corny. Honestly, a FNAF fan game taking place in hell is actually a pretty neat idea. It's just the Fright After Fredbear's Diner 3 didn't really do anything with it. So if there was like an actual good game, FNAF fan game that took place in hell and really made use of the concept, I think that would be pretty cool to see. The Machine of Fun asks, do you have any plans to make more TRTF videos? Yes, I would like to do a TRTF Fangames video one day, because there's a lot to talk about. There could possibly be like 2 videos on that. It'd be like 4 hours long if I made one, and I wouldn't, like, as much as I like to make long videos, I wouldn't make one 4 hours long. If it was that long, I'll split it into 2 parts. Aaron asked 3 questions. First one is, will you make more FNAF Fangames retrospectives like Fazbear's Return and Unstoppable Troll Gaming video? Well, yeah, that's, like I said, that's what I do, and make those types of videos. If you're specifically asking about like 2-hour long videos, yeah, there's loads that I've got planned. As of the time recording this video, I'm currently working on a FNAF Fangames video, which may or may not be out by the time this video has been published. We'll have to see, you'll probably know. Second question is, what is your most and least favourite FNAF Fangame? Well, I already answered what my favourite FNAF Fangame is, or what it probably is anyway. As for my least favourite FNAF Fangame is, I don't know, I've played so many terrible FNAF Fangames. It's probably just some really terribly made game by an 8-year-old. I can't really name any specifically. That's a very hard question. The worst that I've talked about on this channel is probably the Fredbear's Diner 2, since it's a reskin of like one of the worst FNaF fan games ever. So the fact that it's a reskin just adds more laziness to it. And the third question is, will you also make more retrospectives about FNaF fan games released in said year, like the FNaF fan games in 2014 video, but this time like 2015, 2016, 2017, etc. Wow, do you know how long that video would be? That would be like, no, bro, I'd be dead before I'd finish that. Like, each of those videos would be like 10 hours long. The reason why I did the video on 2014 FNaF fan games is because FNaF fan games didn't become popular until TRTF1 came out, which was in the last week of 2014, so the whole point of that video was really to look at FNaF fan games that came out before FNaF fan games actually became popular. Random person asks, what are your inspirations? That's a good question. Dan TDM is who initially got me into FNaF. Like, I first heard about FNaF when I saw him play FNaF 2. Yeah, I didn't hear about FNaF till after FNaF 2, I know, shocker. But I didn't really get into FNaF until I saw... I think the YouTubers that really got me into FNaF, though, were Risk Rim, 8-Bit Ryan, Smike, Ayutum. I'd credit them for being the reason why I got into FNaF and the reason where I am today. As for what inspired me to make these video essays, I would probably say James Rolfe, who you'll know as like Angry Video Game Nerd. I was a huge fan of him when I was a teenager, and yeah, I mainly watched him for like, you know, the rants and him like smashing games. I always thought that was like really funny, but I also really like how he just kind of grabs this game, this really old game that like everyone just forgot about and talks about it. Yeah, he mostly just rips it to pieces, but I've always just liked that. And like I said earlier, I thought it'd be cool if someone made that kind of video but on FNaF fan games, in a more constructive way, of course, but yeah, that's what eventually led me to making these videos. I'd also like to give a shout out to the YouTuber Starless Substance, who made a Lost Films iceberg. This is the video that inspired the Lost FNaF fan games iceberg. I saw it back in 2023, and I thought the video was really good, and I thought, imagine if someone did that on Lost FNaF fan games, that'd be so cool. And the format of the Lost FNaF fan games iceberg, starting off with found games, and the more you go down the iceberg, the games become more lost. That was taken from this video, because that's how that video is formatted. I'd highly recommend checking this video out if you're into lost media. F Fabled asks, what FNaF fan game series do you consider your favourite? Which one do you think is underrated, and which one do you think is overrated? Yet again, already answered the question of what's my favourite. I would say Last Night at Freddy's is the most underrated. Like, that just proves to you that talent has absolutely fuck all to do with popularity. You could make by far the best FNaF fan game at the time, one that would still be considered one of the best years later, and no one notices it. As for what's the most overrated, not gonna lie, it does kind of pain me to say this because I have some strong opinions on this series, but I would say Five Nights at Candy's is possibly the most overrated. I'm specifically talking about FNAF 1 and FNAF 1 Remastered. FNAF 1, let's just be 100% honest, that game would have went well under the radar if it came out today. The only reason that game got as much recognition as it got is because it was the best looking FNAF fan game of 2015 by far, and that's literally it. FNAF Remastered, I think it's okay, it's fine, but I really don't get why everyone was raving about it. Like, I've seen it in people's top 10 best FNAF fan games videos. Like, I mean, I respect your opinion, but like, it's just FNAF 1 with better graphics and one extra night, which now, yeah, the Shadow Candy boss fight is pretty fun and all, but is that really enough to make it like better than FNAF 3 or the Joy of Creation story mode? Like, really? That being said, though, I actually think FNAF 2 is overhated. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's underrated because I don't really think it's that good, but it's a game that definitely gets way too much hate, and the only reason it gets hate is because of how well known it is, and most FNAF fans don't realise how buggy FNAF games are. And I'd actually say FNAF 2 is better than 1. if I'm being completely honest. And I think FNaF 3 is really good, and I would probably say it's amongst the top 15 best FNaF fan games. So yeah, that's probably the closest I have to being the most overrated, because again, I don't play new FNaF fan games. Like, the most recent big FNaF fan game I've played was probably Juniors, which I've seen conflicted opinions on. I personally think it's really good, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best ever made. But if I played more newer FNaF fan games, I'd probably have more things to say, but that's just what I have for now. Chronix22 asked 3 questions. The first question is, what year do you remember first getting into FNaF? So, like I said, I first heard about FNaF through Dan TDM when he played FNaF 2, which, yeah, I actually, not only did I not hear about FNaF till after 2 came out, I actually didn't hear about FNaF till 2015. Yeah, that's probably the most shocking answer you're gonna get from me. Yeah, I didn't even get into FNaF till after FNaF 3 came out, actually. I first heard about it through Dan TDM, but like I said, it wasn't until a bit later. But yeah, 2015 is the year I got into FNaF. Second question is, besides the Fazbear's Return video, what video are you most proud of? Well, I did say in the past that the Fazbear's Return video is my most proud video, which is probably why you got that from. When I say it's most proud video, I mainly mean how this was the video that really skyrocketed me into being like a well-known person in the FNaF fan game community, because I wasn't as well-known, and like my fame basically doubled overnight when that video came out. As far as like am I most proud of it in terms of how good the video is, I still think it's a really good video. It has problems though, and I think it definitely would be about 30 minutes longer if I made it today. As for what actually is my favourite, I can't answer that. It's like trying to decide what my favourite child is. I'd like to think that I am getting better with every video though, that's what I'm trying to do. And the third question is, what editing software do you use? I use Adobe Premiere Pro. Shelly asks, will you do more retrospective videos in the future, like Five Nights at Tubbyland and Five Nights at Sonic's, etc.? Those are 2 FNaF fan game series that I have a lot of nostalgia for, but I have no idea where they're at now. I haven't kept up with them in years. Five Nights at Tubbyland I think would be an interesting video, because 1 through 3 is like, they were really good games for the time. They were definitely some of the best FNaF fan games to come out in 2015, and not a lot of people really talk about them. Like, a lot of people talk about like the newer games, but I think the older games deserve more attention, I think. As for Five Nights at Sonic's though, that's a series that's been talked to death over the years, and I don't think I really have anything to add. I mean, again, I don't know how up to date a lot of these videos on Five Nights at Sonic's are, so maybe there might be some games that haven't been talked about, but I don't know. Brainrot asked 3 questions. The first one is, what is your least favourite FNaF game? By that they mean, what's my least favourite game in the actual FNaF series? So, I've not actually played any of the mainline FNaF games that came out after Security Breach, so I can't really give an opinion on Ruin or Secret of the Mimic, Help Wanted 2. I played a little bit of Into the Pit, but I only played it for like a couple hours, so I don't really have much to say about it. I would say Security Breach, because I just found that game to be like really boring and not very scary, despite looking amazing. But the thing is, Security Breach is more so just not really my thing, and that's kind of why I don't play FNaF games anymore, because this isn't the series that I grew up with anymore. It's something completely different, something that I'm just not really into. Like, I could understand if someone said that Security Breach is both their favourite and least favourite game in a series, but it's just so different that I don't really think it deserves to really be called the worst, in my opinion. But even then, I don't know if I would say it's actually the worst, because there are some things that I do actually like about it, but it's one that I just couldn't really get into. I would probably say that the worst is Dislocation, and that's a very funny thing to say, because Dislocation was actually my favourite game for about 6 months when it first came out. And I think it's very interesting what's happened with it, because Dislocation was often considered to be like the best game in a series when it came out, and I was a very strong believer in that. But every time I replay, I just like it less and less and less. And again, I'm not the only one. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people consider it like the worst or one of the worst these days. Even then, I really like a lot of things about Dislocation, but it's just kind of a boring game to replay, because it's just the same thing Like, I mean, yes, it's a different thing on each night, but like, you play it once, you really don't need to play it again. It's not really got a lot of strategy to it. It's just you're told to do something and you do it. There you go. For the longest time, I considered Pizza Sim to be one of the worst, and yet again, this is another game that most people agreed with me at the time it was one of the worst, but these days it's often considered to be one of the best, which is very funny how opinions change on these FNaF games. I mean, I strongly disagree. I still think it's one of the weaker ones, but it's a game that has grown on me a bit. Like, I absolutely hated it when it first came out, but I really like the Pizza Tycoon aspect of it. I just find the main nights to be really boring. Like, they're the worst main nights in any FNaF game. But like, I would probably say it's better than Location because I definitely get a lot more enjoyment out of it still, even if I like give up halfway through. The second question is, what's your opinion on the fanverse? I like the idea of the fanverse a lot. I remember being like, yes, finally, when it first got announced, because there's so many FNaF fan games that I was like, dude, this should be on console. Like, how is this free? And finally we were going to get that. But I don't really like how it has been executed, and I would consider it a failure. When the fanverse started, we had 5 developers. Now there's 3. And this was 5 years ago, so I think it's safe to say that there's not going to be any more developers being added to the fanverse. And while I do think that all the developers that were added are very talented and I think are good choices for the fanverse, but it's just been painfully slow. Like, there's only been 3 games that have came out over the last 5 years, and when there's 5 developers at one point, yeah, there's 3 now, you'd expect there to be a lot more. We got One Night I Flunked These 3, which I would say is the only FNaF fan game that became part of the fanverse I would actually say was a success, because right before Jonachrome got dropped, the only game for that series that was going to come out actually came out, so that was well done. Fiznum literally made no games for the fanverse. He obviously was working on FNaF Plus, but that never came out. I really liked Pop Goes Arcade, and I thought My Pop Goes was okay, but Evergreen's been in development hell for such a long time now, though, and like, it might be a good game, but I strongly doubt it's going to live up to the hype considering how long it's been in development for. And Final Candies 4, I genuinely believe is never going to come out. I hope this statement ages poorly because I do actually look forward to it and think it could be a good game, but it's just had so little made for it, and it's been in development since before the fanverse was even announced. The Joy of Creation is really the only game that I actually have hope for, since we actually got a demo made for it. But even then though, like, even if that does end up being an amazing game, that's still like 2 really good games in possibly 6 years by the time it comes out, because even then we still don't know when it's going to come out. It's more likely to come out soon compared to some of the other ones, but even then we don't actually know. I'm not trying to rush any of the developers and be like, oh, your game's bad, it's taken so long, you need to speed things up. I'm well aware that if they did like rush it, it would probably not be very good. I'm aware of that, but I just don't really see the fanverse having much of a future when only 1 really good game has came out in 5 years. I know I'm quite pessimistic about it, but I genuinely do wish the best of luck for the fanverse developers. I really do hope that these games come out and they're really good, but it's just difficult to get excited about it, you know. And the third question is another fanverse question. If you were Scott, what games would you have considered for the fanverse? Obviously, if it's IP based, then it doesn't count. Like, I would love to see Fnatic or Radiance be part of the fanverse, but I know that's never going to happen. I mean, they've been blacklisted for fuck's sake. I would say Mixlaz is someone who I think would fit right in the fanverse, because he's a very talented developer. I mean, Tycoon Sons Lumberco is top 5 best FNaF fan games. That's maybe even a contender for best FNaF fan game. That could even be like an official spin-off for Chipper and Son. Like, that could actually work very well. And Baby's Nightmare Circus is also really good, and I think that would also be a good game to see on console. Garrett McKay is also a developer who I could definitely see making a fanverse, since his games are all free of IP. Fredbear's Fright and Fredbear and Friends Left to Rot were great games. I've not played a Bite of Freddy's, but I've heard it's meant to be really good. A very obvious one would be Jellium, but he was going to be part of the fanverse but got rejected, so Don't know if that really counts. And I know you guys are probably going to slap me for saying this, but if Blackout wasn't a you-know-what, I think she should have definitely became part of the fanverse, because Dormant Abyss is a good game. Call me a dickhead. Mohammed Ahmad asks, what are your thoughts on the current FNaF Fangames scene? I think there's a lot of developers who are way too ambitious these days. They're trying to make something that's just way out of their league, which is why so many games take so long. And like they stay in development hell for years, and when they finally come out, they're not as great as they were planned. I think developers should maybe try making something a bit less ambitious and smaller first. But no, they're just trying to make the best FNaF fan game, and like the standards of today are so high. Like you can't just be relatively experienced and change the world. You can't just do that. It's gotta be a mind-blowing FNaF fan game, and you can't just do that overnight. I think there's also an over-reliance on difficulty. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with like Night 7 being like balls-kickingly hard, or maybe even Night 6 being really hard. That's fine. But a lot of FNaF fan games, like the 4th night is like max mode level difficulty. And like, I get the appeal of it, but I don't really think it's that fun. A lot of these games, it's not strategy, it's just mindless spamming. Like, there's like 69 enemies being thrown at you every second, and all you do is just like, there you go, deal with them, deal with them, deal with them, deal with them. You're just being overwhelmed non-stop. Like, I like a challenging game, but there isn't actually any strategy involved. It's just, like I said, it's just spam. That's all. It's like they're trying to make the hardest FNaF fan game, and that's the thing, people are just trying to break records, and I think they should stop doing that. Just make a game, right? Because you probably aren't even going to break any records anyway. Just make a game that's fun to play, that you actually enjoy making, and that's really it. You don't need to try and be the next best or hardest thing. Chainman Gaming asks 3 questions. The first one is, which do you think is better, the Fazbear's Return series or the Return to Freddy's series? That is quite a tough one actually, because yeah, they're similar, like story-wise and gameplay-wise, visual-wise and all that, but I've got some very different opinions on them. In terms of which one has the better games, that's a no-brainer. Fazbear's Return, hands down, has the better games. Like, I actually unironically like some of the Fazbear's Return games. I don't really think the Return to Freddy's games, like, yeah, they're not as bad as everyone says they are, but they've still really not aged well, whilst I actually really like Fazbear's Return 5 and Sea Shift 2, and even Ellie's I think is still a really good game. But in terms of like which one has the better world, the better story, better characters, I would definitely have to say the Return to Freddy's, because like Return to Freddy's has loads of expanded universe shit that goes beyond the games, and I really like that. Like, I think the Return to Freddy's 5, had that actually been finished, would probably be better than any of the Fazbear's Return games. I think Tyler was better when it comes to concepts than Scribby, but Scribby was definitely better at executing the ideas. Second question is, favourite Fazbear's Return character? Again, human animatronic characters. Well, Zack is definitely the best human character. There isn't really any other human characters that we know much about. As for animatronic, I'd say Toxic. I don't know, I like wolves. And the third question is, are you going to do a video on Five Nights at Gypsies? I fucking knew I was gonna get asked that, yeah. Five Nights at Gypsies has been my most requested FNaF fan game. People have literally been asking me to review this before I even made the Fazbear's Return video. So now I'm gonna tell you, will there ever be a Five Nights at Gypsies video? So I'm very interested in Five Nights at Gypsies. I don't know much about it. I've only played 2 of the games. I don't remember which ones they were because it was such a long time ago. One of them was in like the FNaF 4 bedroom, and the other one just looked like a generic FNaF fan game. I don't really remember. I'll be showing footage of them on screen right now though, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm very interested in it. I know it sounds like a crazy rabbit hole to go down. I know there's a lot of games. There's like 10, I know there's at least 10 games, I know that. I'm not sure exactly how many games there are, but yeah, I was actually gonna make that, after the Unstoppable Troll Gaming video. I was thinking, alright, that's my next video, but, I kind of backed out, because I just looked at that and thinking, God, this is gonna be such a difficult video to make, because Like, I know there's like a lot of lore to this game, and it sounds like a really difficult game to research because there's not really much information on it. It's a series I definitely would like to get around to talking about one day. I just have absolutely no idea when that's going to be though. RoboWolf asks, what do you think of Five Nights with 39? I really like it. I think it's a really funny FNaF fan game. I haven't played the most recent version yet, but yeah, I really like it. I think it's really funny. Like 39 is just a complete savage who like came up with this elaborate plan to like pretend that he killed your son just because he posted a video of him having a wank. I just thought that was really... It's one of the funniest FNaF fan games out there. Even if it's just, you know, like a joke game, doesn't have very good gameplay to it, but yeah, I really like it. Mike Schmidt asks, what was the first FNaF fan game you ever played? Oh, that's, right, this might actually be the most shocking answer you're gonna get. The first FNaF fan game I ever played was actually FNaF 2. Yes. Yeah, early 2016. So, full disclosure, I didn't get into FNaF fan games till a bit later on. I said that I got into FNaF in like early 2015. I didn't get into FNaF fan games until like mid to late 2015. However though, I didn't actually have a laptop at this point because all the games I wanted to play were either on the Xbox 360 or on a mobile device. Yeah, I was an iPad kid. Laptops obviously cost money. I was like 10 years old at the time, so, you know, getting £300 would be like impossible, so had to wait for my mum to get me one, which took quite a while. And around the time I got the laptop is when FNaF 2 came out, and FNaF 2 was like the first FNaF fan game that I was actually there for. Like, I remember when it came out, I was really excited to play it, and I thought it was a really good game when it came out. I know a lot of people were disappointed by it, but yeah, I really liked it as a kid. I've always preferred it over the first game. Captain Chaos asks, what's your favourite FNaF song? Dream or Dream by Try Hard Ninja. That is a fucking banger. If you've not listened to it, pause the video and listen to it right now. It's fucking amazing, and it should have played in the end credits of the FNaF movie. I'm not just saying that because it's so good, I actually think it would have fit the narrative. Fredbear the Bear asked, I remember having 2 videos on your channel, which one was about you not being a fan of FNaF anymore, and the second one was you doing a review of the movie, but these videos are no longer available, so I guess you privated those videos. If so, is there any reason why? I'm very surprised that you've seen those videos, because they're from like 2023. So I've been making videos on YouTube ever since 2014, most of the channels that I've used don't exist anymore. And this channel I've had since for nearly 7 years, and up until mid-2024, I just posted whatever the fuck I wanted on there. Didn't really think, because I never thought I was going to go anywhere with this, because like years had passed and, you know, it wasn't getting anywhere, so I just thought, no one's ever going to notice. And then when people did start noticing, I was like, yeah, I've got all this old shit from when I was a kid on there that I don't really want people seeing, so I'm going to private them. I would never take a video down out of embarrassment today though. Like, I'm not exactly proud of the first Lost FNaF Fan Games iceberg. I'm very happy about the, you know, the impact it's had on my life, of course, and the FNaF community, but it's not a very good video. It's the main reason why I want to redo it, because it's just not very good. But I'm still going to keep it up though. Another reason I took all those old cringy videos down as well is because I didn't think anyone would notice that they were gone, which this comment clearly proves otherwise, because I thought that like only a handful of people have seen them, like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 people. I don't actually know how many saw them, but not a lot though, so I just took them down thinking that, yeah, no one's going to notice. But even if you have noticed, I'm sorry, but those videos are staying private. Issa asks, will you ever make a video about 6 Horrors at Toonie series? I've never actually played any of the 6 Horrors games. I know, blasphemy, but it's definitely one that I am interested in. I don't know if it's something that I would make a video on though. Disawa asks 3 questions. The first one is, will you make a video about Five Nights at Chuck's, 6 Horrors, or Five Nights at Fangs, or anything like that? Well, I'll just answer the 6 Horrors question. As for Five Nights at Chuck's, probably not. I just don't have a lot to say about them, and honestly, I don't really have much to add from what I said in the Psychoclown video, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't really touched upon Project Midway, but while it is the most interesting in a series, I don't think that's really worthy of a video. As for Five Nights at Fangs, yeah, I'm talking about Pizza and Fear in this video, because Marissa asked me to talk about it, and this is a, you know, I asked fans to submit a game, and yeah, Pizza and Fear got submitted, so yeah, that game's been reviewed. The second question is, why do you hate Cocoa Pops? I don't actually hate Cocoa Pops. That's an inside joke between me and my sister. It was, I don't really remember it very well, but it was kind of like an angry video game nerd thing. You know how he oftentimes says, like, oh, I'd rather eat a rotten asshole of a roadkill skunk than play this game. But he always says, like, really vulgar stuff, and my sister doesn't really like me saying that kind of stuff. And I think I was ranting about something, and I was going to say something like that, but instead I was like, no, keep it clean. And I was like, I'd rather eat Cocoa Pops, and it's just so random, and that's kind of why I thought it was funny, and that just made it into the video, I guess. That's where it came from. I don't actually hate Cocoa Pops. I think it's decent. I don't really eat cereal, but yeah, I don't actually hate it. And the third question is, what's my favorite TRTF fan game? Alright, confession, I've not played that many TRTF fan games. And the thing is with me is that I'm a really old gen TRTF fan. Like, I'm talking, I remember when there were only 3 games. TRTF is the first FNaF fan game I got into, by the way. And I kind of lost interest in the series in around 2018. I've been following it, like, a bit since then. Like, I remember when Rebuild and Winter Wonderland came out, but I never actually played those games myself. The only TRTF fan games I've actually played were both of Bloomku's TRTF 5 remakes, Jokesy's TRTF 5 Revival, and I'd played its Rockman's TRTF 1 remake, but I don't remember much about it. It's been years since I've played all these games, honestly. Like, if I replayed them, I might think differently, but based off my memory, I'd probably say Jokesy's TRTF 5 Revival. That's generally considered to be the best TRTF 5 remake, so I'd probably still agree if I played it again. This will obviously age terribly when I eventually get down to making that TRTF fan games video, but this is where I'm at now. The Home Run Hammer asks, what's an underrated or forgotten FNaF fan game series you think should get a revival? If cancelled FNaF fan games count, Another Story of Freddy's, I would absolutely love to see a remake of that, because like, yeah, we don't really know anything about it, but I absolutely love the look of it. It's honestly one of the best looking FNaF fan games, I think. From an objective point of view, no, it's not, but I would love to see that as like a complete game, and you could definitely do a lot with it, because like I said, we don't know much about it, so you could definitely make up your own story from scratch. In fact, you could make up most of it really, since most of it was never finished, but yeah, I'd love to see that game being remade. Just Thunder asks, what FNaF game has the creepiest atmosphere, can be both official and fan-made? FNaF 4, I would say, has probably the most chilling soundboard of any media I've ever seen. It's not just because you're listening out for breathing and, you know, the loud jump scare. I just think the atmosphere, it's impossible to play that game without getting scared. It's impossible. But I absolutely love it. I think FNaF 4 is the best in the series, I think. As for FNaF fan games, I would say Fazbear Nightmare. That game just freaks the fuck out of me. I already did the video on that and talk about how scary it is, and I know the 2015 version I'm specifically talking about. 2019 version wasn't nearly as scary, but yeah, I really look forward to the full game, even though it's probably not going to be as scary as the original. Thur asked, what mainline FNaF animatronic would be the scariest for you to see at your door on Halloween? I know it's cliche, but the Nightmare animatronics really are the scariest, and I think Nightmare Foxy, I'd have to say, is the most creepy. I don't really know what it is about him, he just looks the scariest one. Non-Nightmare animatronic though, I would say Molten Freddy. He just looks really fucked up. Like, he's like the first thing that comes to mind. I think like killer animatronic who's absolutely deranged. Sanyuka Hodi asked, what's the best way a newer FNaF fan game can recreate the feel of an old FNaF fan game? I think the most important thing is for the graphics to be kind of mediocre. It doesn't have to be terrible, but not great. Like, if it was AAA quality, it would, like, obviously it would have to have came out in like at least at the very earliest 2016, so if you wanted to feel like that 2015 FNaF fan game feel, it'd have to be, the graphics would have to be like mediocre. I would say, if you want to still make the game good, bring back a familiar mechanic like the music box or the power usage, but maybe do something else with it though, but keep those old mechanisms that we saw in 2015 FNaF fan games though, to keep the feel. Spitter asks 2 questions. First one is, how long does it take for you to produce and put out a video? That really depends on how long it is. I have this when making a video that it takes 1 hour to make each minute. I would say if like an hour-long video, maybe a few weeks, a 2-hour-long video, 1 or 2 months, that's usually how long it takes. Second question is, are you a laptop or a PC kind of guy? Well, I never use my laptop, it's basically just left to rot pretty much, and my PC I use all day every day, so I think that answers your question. Acrorx asks, how did searching info in the deeper TRTF iceberg sections go? Just okay or needlessly cryptic? It was surprisingly not as hard as you'd think actually. Luckily I happen to be friends with some of the biggest TRTF nerds in the world, and I think that definitely helped a lot with some really random ones on there and some stuff that it wouldn't find otherwise. And some of it was just some random facts that I found on the wiki that I don't think like the average FNaF fan knows about. Sapos Entertainment asks 3 questions. The first one is, what makes a good FNaF fan game? I really like FNaF fan games where it isn't the same thing every night. By that I mean it's not just like same like office setup and all that, just with a few new characters added on extra nights. I like it when each night is its own thing, like the Joy of Creation story mode, or if there's loads of between night segments that are probably even more fun than the main nights, like Five Nights at Candy's 3 or Final Nights 4. I think there should be multiple endings as well, as many as possible really, so that you can go back and play the game. And add a lot of secrets as well. Like Joy of Creation story mode only has like 1 ending, but you can still go back and like collect the newspapers which fill in more lore. I'm not a graphics whore, I'm not expecting the game to look again like AAA console level quality, but the graphics do definitely need to look good. Like if the visuals just really unappealing, it would definitely take a lot off the game. When I say unappealing, I don't mean like in a good way like Dormit Abyss, I just mean if it just looks really dull and boring and just doesn't really make you interested in what's going on. Second question is, if you have a chance of making a remake for an old FNaF fan game, what would you choose? I mean, I'm not really interested in making games anymore, so I wouldn't choose any, but hypothetically I would say another Story of Freddy's. Third question is, will you make another video of the Hell in Freddy's when the second part releases? Probably not. I already talked about a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the second part because there's a lot of shit on the wiki that says what's going to happen, and yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of stuff that aren't on the wiki, but I doubt it's going to be enough to warrant a part 2, so probably not, but we'll have to see when it comes out. Harris Constantino asks, will you make a Five Nights at the AGK Studio retrospective? I would really like to talk about that series. I don't really know much about it, but it's one that really does interest me. I like talking about these big FNaF fan game series where there was like more than 10 entries, and it's actually like good quality though, not just slop, and Five Nights at the AGK Studio actually looks good. I don't know how good some of the older games are, because, you know, they might have aged pretty badly, but I think they'll be fun. Ultra asks, think you might cover the Return to Abominations? I am very nostalgic towards the Return to Abominations, but there's not really much to say about it. If I ever did another video on Photoshop FNaF fan games, I would definitely like to talk about it there, but I would definitely not do a standalone video on the Return to Abominations. Anonymous asks, do you think they will ever cover One Night to Remember and Five Nights to Remember? The Five Nights to Remember games were definitely ambitious for their time. Like, they were pretty good in 2015, but looking back, they're just kind of average by today's standards. So I don't really know if there's a lot to say about them. And the Radiance remake has already been talked about many times, so I don't think that really needs to be reviewed again. I've thought about possibly one day doing a video on Fredbear FNaF fan games. And if it did that, I would definitely talk about Five Nights to Remember, One Night to Remember, as well as the Diner. But I don't know if that video will ever come out though, and I have no idea when. Trenchant's Asher asks, is there any backstory behind why your intro is a screaming marmot? That's a very old intro. That's the reason why it looks so low quality compared to the rest of the video. Like, I've had that intro since 2022, way before any of you guys knew who it was. If you've been watching me since like September 2024 or earlier though, you might remember that I actually used to have a squirrel OC that was in my profile pic and banner. That was my OC for many years, and I remember I just came across that Screaming Marmot video and thought it was really funny, specifically the edited one that has that screen played over it, because that's obviously edited, I'm sure you all knew that. And my OC was a squirrel, and a squirrel is like a marmot, so I just thought, that's me screaming, that's what I was going for with that. And yeah, the intro is obviously very low quality, and I've planned on removing it many times, but a lot of people seem to really like the intro, some have even protested me removing it, so I decided to keep it since a lot of people find it funny. And that's all the questions answered. I know I'm repeating myself like the millionth time here, but it really is surreal being at 10,000 subscribers. I really felt like I owed you all a video like this, as I would not be where I am without all of you. I obviously don't expect someone's 10k subscribers special video to be 2 hours long, but I don't know if I'll ever reach something like 100k. Even if I did, I've been permanently demonetized, so it just get increasingly more difficult for me to regularly put out videos as I'm not making any money off them. And of course, content like this is just so niche, and I have no plans to change that, so I really need to go all out with this one. More than anything though, I am glad that the English FNaF fangame community now has someone who talks about less mainstream older FNaF fangames in probably the most in-depth way possible. And of course, finally made Lost FNaF fangames well known, which has led to hundreds of Lost FNaF fangames getting found. I don't really know what else to say that I haven't already said, so thank you everyone who submitted a game, asked a question, watched the video all the way through, and of course, for subscribing.